Very professional.
Hey, look at that! Now we're live. Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey! Let's do it again. Do it again.
I is a professional streamer.
I has intelligence.
Do we have to introduce ourselves again?
Yes. Welcome to You Got Me Monologuing. I'm Tony.
I'm Pasquale.
I'm still Grognard Todd.
And I'm Joey.
And we still have Ulfgar the Awful sitting here with us.
Say hi again,
Oh
Ulfgar.
my god.
Good job.
And his buddy Todd. Yay, we're no longer. Yet is like, yes, you are no longer mine.
Yay.
Although that wouldn't be a bad gimmick.
Oh, no, that would be a terrible gimmick.
I mean, maybe for us, but like,
hang on, let me see. Go ahead and talk, Joey.
God, my dude.
Wait, go back. I found peace in the universe.
Wow.
You didn't even turn me back on yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
We
Okay.
wasted no time in roasting Joey, this one.
Hang on.
Hey, when our
there we are.
guest off camera began roasting Joey before we even go
Right.
Oh, that was just fun.
Screw that.
That was just fun.
What a
So it's
sketch.
been a couple of weeks, gentlemen. How have we been?
Work has been an absolute mess.
You work retail, dude.
Right, that's why
Welcome
it's
to
been
work,
And
Joey.
Not
Yeah,
only do you work retail, you work a subsection of retail known as grocery store.
half of the cashiers had called off of work like the last weekend, and I was developing a cold, so
Oh, they don't
He
care.
had a
and they had to pull me in on Tuesday because they were missing that many people. In fact, that's why I wasn't here last week. Well, none of us were really.
I think we've
Wait.
covered this.
Wait, Joey, what is this?
The tiniest violin
And what's it doing?
I think
playing a sad song.
Yes, it is.
Why is it
Correct.
always a violin? Why is it never a cello?
Because cello would be you need two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cellos are bigger. However,
That's-
a viola.
As much as I'm for people trying to make a living and stuff like that, I feel there is a rite of passage one must go through during a high school job of spectacular retail
Right,
experience.
and
Crap-
some of us
craptastic.
go well into our
And-
20s with
and-
that.
Right,
sure.
yeah, right.
It's just it should not continue into your 30s, but high school
right.
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was hell, but honestly, this past weekend wasn't that bad. Like, we had all the people. Lines were surprisingly slow considering Father's Day.
Well, that's
Also
why
because
there was
everybody went
No,
before.
I mean,
Right,
like, even
every-
the days before and after were really slow. That's what I
People
found.
can't
weird.
afford food anymore, Joey. That's the problem.
that is the problem.
I had to drive to the
Sure
grocery
that.
store. Like, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we live a mile and a half away, and I'm like,
I'm not driving
How
there.
much gas is that? That's
Can
like
we walk?
$4
It's within
in
walking
gas.
distance, right? We
Right.
can walk that way.
So
I've been taking care of my sister-in-law's dog.
okay,
That's all I'm
Exactly.
turn the mic towards you, not away from you. You know how to
Technical.
talk. There you go.
How's
We've
this?
been doing
Hey,
this
look
for
at that.
like
Don't
4
put your
years
hand
now.
in front of your face, Pasquale.
Okay. how's this? I talk with my hands, not my
I
mouth.
know both of you guys do.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
And I was doing,
I
We
did go
love
see-
you, Pasquale.
I was doing the Charlie Brown adult talk thing.
I did go see Top Gun last night.
How,
What'd
yeah,
you think?
I loved it.
No, wait.
Awesome.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Have you
no.
seen it?
No, well,
I have seen
not
it.
the new one.
My
Oh.
boss has seen it 4 times.
Well,
Wow.
we know. Never mind. I'm not even going to say it.
Yeah.
Carry
Your
on.
boss must really like Tom Cruise.
But no. Well, yes, but no. Anyway, what did you think, Pasquale?
I enjoyed it. It was a new genre that's it's kind of half remake but half new plot moving character development.
Right.
But it definitely has a lot of homage with
Yeah.
the original film.
It's the same movie, but in 30 years. I mean, it's good.
They
It was
changed
fun.
the view, the beats. They
It's a
played on your
great-
expectations.
It's a great summer movie, right? I thought it was a great.
So
summer
it was
movie.
Days of Thunder 2.
I
Yes.
agree. I agree. It was closer to Days of Thunder than it was the original.
At least it wasn't
Well,
far
that-
away 2.5.
Right. Well, that's the thing, because Days of Thunder was Top Gun on a racetrack.
Yes, exactly right.
And so, now you got Days of Thunder 2 is
Right.
Top Gun back in the...
I always used to call. I always used to call it Maverick Gets a Car. That's why I used to call it. But somebody today was talking about the original Top Gun, and they're like, well, the assumption was in the 80s that the bad guys were the Soviets, Russians, whatever you want to say.
Right.
Yeah.
But having now seen the second one and then heard them say this, like, oh yeah, there was they never actually named the bad guys in the first one. I could have swore they named the bad guys in the first one.
No,
but
you
I
might
guess
be
they never
confusing
did.
it with my other personal 80s favorite, starring Louis Gossett Jr.
Lou Gossett
Iron
Eagle.
Jr. Iron Eagle.
Now those guys were the not even the Soviets
No.
then. They were some weird like hybrid Middle Eastern like Iraq, Iran.
Basically brown people, right? It was
Yes.
brown people were bad.
It was racist.
Yeah, well, I mean, that back then, brown people were bad, right? What do you
Right.
want?
So this one like had I don't think they named them the Russians either, but it was in cold weather climate,
Yep.
had the mountains.
I remember that, yeah.
I had obviously oh my gosh. Is it spoilers to say it's Top Gun 1 plus Star Wars?
I don't think so because it's been like 30 years. So I think you're safe. Also, Dorothy was sleeping the whole time. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Spoiler
Say
alert,
Top
right?
Gun and Star Wars.
Yeah, that's the sequel.
I'm so confused.
If you see it, I don't want to ruin it. That's the thing. Like if you go see it, like it's got a very
It does, yes. The new one. Yeah.
big homage to
Yeah,
Star Wars.
It does, yeah.
All right then.
Let's see.
It's
So
worth it, but I will say the original soundtrack's still better.
So I've got caught up on all the new shows out there. So caught up on Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, which is
Fun.
that is my favorite Trek in a long, long time. The Orville, which is my second
I
favorite
was going to
Star
say,
Trek.
that's my favorite Trek of all
Right.
time. Orville is the best Star Trek show ever written, as far as I'm concerned.
And now I just discovered and binged over the weekend on Hulu. It's a miniseries called Pistol, and it's the story of the Sex Pistols told from their guitar player's perspective.
I've seen the ads, but I have not watched it.
I binged it. I couldn't
Yeah.
stop. It was that engrossing.
It looks
I was
really cool.
Really, really. But I'm a gentleman of a certain age,
Right, exactly.
So that granted, the Sex Pistols were when I was 7, but as I'm getting into
But they influenced the punk
everything
that we got into when we were in high school. So,
exactly. Also, so this is really, really cool. I had to bring this in to show this off. I didn't want to risk bringing it down into my office with my paints. So
Smart.
my dad, this past week, we moved him into a new house a couple months, about a month and a half ago, and he's been unpacking. And he always told me that this was going to be mine, and he decided he was going to go ahead and just give it to me now because
I like how you didn't even plastic bag it.
nope. So this
we're
is
not talking about something that's worth $1 million here. It's very cool.
So this is like his Doubleday Science Fiction Club edition of iRobot that in 1979 he got actually signed by Isaac Asimov when he met him teaching at the university.
One of the
Yeah.
world's
That he
most
worked out.
prolific writers who has written every section of the Dewey Decimals.
Yes, thank you
And-
for stealing my thunder. Thank
Yes,
you.
well done, Pasquale.
And
Let
he
the
wrote
poor man tell his
and
story.
he wrote the laws of robotics that most sci-fi has broken.
Right.
Absolutely. My dad introduced me to Asimov when I was young. I was probably 8 or 9 when I read Foundation. No, I read iRobot first, and then he's like, you like Star Wars. There's a series of books called Foundation that's really like Star Wars. You should check it
Just
out.
like Star Wars.
Yeah. So-
Except not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just like Star Wars.
but he got me to read it, and he got me to expand. I started. I read Asimov, and then that got me into Heinlein. That got me into H.G. Wells, of course, and all the classics, and move forward. But he was able to kick my ass off of just Star Wars because I think if he hadn't done that, what did I do? Oh, there it is. If he hadn't done that, and granted, my library, you go in my library, and my library is a ton of Star Wars books. But I've also got mixed in there my other science fiction and my other horror and all that, the Stephen King library and all of that. So, yeah. But so now.
And that's really cool, I think, because he got it personally. He got that autograph personally. I mean, anybody can go on eBay and buy anybody's autograph you want right now, right?
Right.
And they're not expensive for most those kinds of guys, but you just never really know, right? You can anybody on eBay can put up whatever kind of provenance they want of the autograph. You just never really know, but because it's in your family and you know that your dad, and you've got a not just he met him and got his autograph at a convention. There's a story, right? He knew him for a small short period of time,
for
but he
one
knew
day,
him.
yeah.
But he knew him and has a relationship with him for that one day and got that autograph.
Where he was teaching ROTC at Youngstown State University. He taught there from 76 or 77 because he had to go get his master's degree before he could teach ROTC. So, the Army paid for him to be a student for 2 years before he went and started teaching. And when he found out that the school was going to be hosting Isaac Asimov, he's like, yep, I need to be his chaperone for the day. I need to be his shadow for the day. So he spent the day with Isaac Asimov. They went to lunch together, spent the whole day together. And then he signed my dad's copy of the book.
cool
so
That is
just
awesome.
That's
Very
just
cool.
awesome.
Yeah,
So,
it's very cool.
I want to know, did your dad ask him what kind of conditioner he uses for his eyebrows?
Jesus Christ.
Oh my god, man.
I think I spelled him very bushy eyebrows.
Well, yeah.
That just means he's like a wizard. He's super smart.
Hey,
I mean, look at Gandalf's eyebrows, for God's sake.
I was gonna say, hey, Pot, it's Pasquale. You're black.
Right.
Have you looked at your eyebrows lately, sir?
Any great wizard has super thick
They're
eyebrows.
distinct.
Albus
Distinct.
Dumbledore,
Actually, like-
Saruman,
Yeah,
White,
right.
Gandalf
Oh,
White.
my God.
exactly.
Oh, there you go.
What is it that the German contest with the handlebar
The-
mustache?
The
Yeah,
handlebar
right.
mustache.
The big
Beard contest.
beard
Yeah.
contest. I should try and do it.
Do
That's
that.
the handlebar mustache is the bushy eyebrows for young wizards. Like, it's how you tell they're really
That's right.
powerful.
Right.
That's right.
Good
Because they haven't had time yet to grow it out. So
Exactly.
That's right. I will say, this past couple weeks, I took a bullet for everybody. And
Not literally.
I would like a thank you from everybody because I went to go see Jurassic Park Dominion.
Oh boy.
Jurassic World Dominion. Yeah.
Jurassic World Dominion. Correct. Yeah.
I would love to have your review because yeah.
So
I honestly tried.
obviously Jurassic Park, huge fan, right?
Of course.
And the book came out when I was in college, and so
Yeah.
I read the book before I saw the movie, and huge fan of the book. And I can't remember if the second book came out before the first. I think it did. I think the
It did.
second book came out
I
before
read
the
those
first
first-
movie.
yeah.
I read
So both of
Timeline,
them- yeah.
Jurassic Park.
I read the first two
Awesome.
books before the first movie came out. When the first movie came out, I'm like very excited. I mean, we're talking years
Yeah.
and years ago, and it was great. Like, oh my gosh, the first
Jurassic
movie
Park
was
3 is a little bit like the second book.
a little bit
Right, because the second movie was nothing like
Not-
the second book.
not so good.
Yeah.
So fast forward to the new movies, and I saw the first new movie with Chris Pratt, right?
Jurassic World. Yeah.
And it was fine. Like, it was fun. Like, it was kind of nostalgic, and you
It
got
was
to
a
see
big
the
budget version.
yeah, you got
of
to
the-
see the Jeep again and all that
Right.
kind of stuff was cool. And then the second one came out, and it got horrible reviews, so I didn't even go see it at the theater.
No.
It
And then
had
I
an
watched
interesting
it.
premise.
It did,
but
and
they botched it.
I
so
agree.
yeah.
I agree.
100%.
Ugh.
And then we have Dominion.
So I watched the second movie at home, and I'm like, this is awful, and I wish I had those 2 hours back. And then the third one came out. I'm like, oh, they're bringing everybody back. I'm like, well, so now I have to go see it because
Right.
they're bringing everybody back, right?
Because
and I'm a sucker
life,
for the nostalgia.
Life,
made it
Finds a
away.
way, which he didn't say in the movie, which I was very disappointed. By the way,
Oh, that's
there was plenty of fan service of the whole group, and of course now you've got the entire cast of effectively two movie franchises that they had to jam
Sandwich.
together as much as you know. But luckily they didn't do it till the very end, so they could each get their own little storyline. So that
Right.
was fine.
yeah.
But the dinosaurs, they looked cool. It was just, I don't want to totally spoil, but it was it was just bad, right?
I'll
The
just say one
dinosaurs
word.
looked good.
Locusts.
Yeah,
And
that
I've
was
heard-
bad.
And I've heard Dachshund makes a return.
The story was
Dachshund. Yeah,
the
Dachshund
story
here.
was bad.
Somebody
They
cares.
brought back the scientist. I forgot his name. Who was the bad guy in the last one?
Okay.
And was the cool scientist in the
Oh,
first one.
Henry Wu.
Henry Wu. They brought him back.
BD Wong's
BD Wong.
character.
Yeah, BD Wong.
Yeah.
And he was it was bad.
Yeah.
Like, everything was bad, right? The script was bad. It was
And this is
it was like
Colin Trevorrow wrote
and-
the script and directed.
and understand when the first movie came out,
Ah.
right?
don't
I'm
wanna-
a guy who was a dinosaur when I was 10 years old. I was all
Oh, yeah.
dinosaurs all the time.
You're
As
either
many-
into firemen or dinosaurs.
as many kids are, right?
Yeah.
And then I went to college. And I'm like, well, can I study dinosaurs at college? And they're like, no, not at Illinois State University. You can't. I'm like, what can I study? Well, you could study ancient man. That's called anthropology. I'm like, well, I'll study anthropology. And that was the closest thing as I could get to dinosaurs.
Wait, they didn't
right?
have like paleontology?
No, not at Illinois State University. They didn't have none of that.
I just figured further down
If
south.
you're out west, it's a graduate degree, right? In the Midwest, it's called school, and then you have to get you have to get a graduate program out west to go do that kind of thing, right? So I mean, I was all in. Like, I
Yeah.
knew all of this stuff. I studied human evolution. I studied
Yeah.
archaeological digs. Like, I've been.
I mean,
on,
anthropology's
I've been
so
on.
fun.
I've been on digs. I know how this kind of stuff works. And then when the very first Jurassic Park movie came out and the helicopter comes down and blows away, I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's the first 5 minutes of the first Jurassic Park movie, right? But I'm able to overlook all of that. Well, they brought it all back and made it. They just took all the worst parts of all those movies and put them in the last movie. I'm like, so did I have a good time?
Not even.
Not really. Were the dinosaurs cool? Yeah, because you know what they did? They made the dinosaurs feathered.
Oh, so they brought in some of the bird.
Yes, and
stuff that's come out in recent
and they
research.
explained it. So I was happy that they did that. So they explained why the new dinosaurs are all feathered. That
Makes
was
sense.
cool. And it was kind of like this. I like the idea, the world building of it's now a dino world. Like everywhere on the planet, there are dinosaurs now.
Yeah.
So
That
kinda
was
neat.
part
I
of the
thought that was kinda
premise.
cool.
The
Yeah.
second of the new ones.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. But then they kind of didn't really talk about it much after that. There was like one scene of a big dino eating a thing, and then there's some birds in the sky, and then they had some neat the news footage of the little compies attacking some little girl or chasing some little girl around.
Oh,
but
God.
nobody died.
They
There was no
literally
real-
could
there
have
was
made
no
a
real-
horror movie out of the third.
There was
movie.
no real chance of anybody getting nothing bad happen. It was just anyway. So that was my experience. So there you go.
Okay. So it's like the evangelicals version of the Garden of Eden there, right?
Yes, right. Exactly correct.
Riding on cavemen
Yes.
riding on dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Woohoo!
with their AK-47s. That's what they did. Yeah, that's what they did. They rode around on their feathered dinosaurs with AK-47s.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
it was
Didn't
bad.
mean to offend
So that was
anyone.
the only other big thing that happened to me.
If they're offended.
That's fine.
What was the cartoon with the dinosaurs with guns? Back in the
Dinosaurs
Oh,
with guns.
I think.
Yes, that's it.
I know what you're talking about, though.
And ironically, they never fired a single shot.
Isn't that Transformers?
Dino Wars.
Yeah, Dino Wars.
That's all right. Wait, I got in my head. We were talking about someone was okay. So I gotta give you the chain of thought before I can bring this
boy.
up because it's such a random thought that just popped into my
Well,
head.
that's what we're all about.
Right. So he was Duck was painting his elementals, right? And he goes, "Hey, could you imagine taking a bunch of these and dropping them down into some 6 mil Napoleonic wars and being like, all right, deal with this."
Yeah.
And then they talked about roll on the random shit meter that something's
right.
going to happen, and someone's like, "Oh God, the tacos, they've come to life," and immediately my mind went to Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
What?
You are just.
And then someone's like, "God, of all the things to get a cartoon," I'm like,
I've
"Oh
seen the black
Jesus!"
and white and the
I
cartoon.
remember that. Yeah.
I'd completely blocked the fact that they
Right,
made
right.
a cartoon out of that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie was terrible, and I love it, but it was
Yes.
one of those. Hey, can you pass the ketchup? Mm-hmm. Okay, no.
Yes.
Anyway, so
Wow, that was a stream of thought.
that
right
was
there.
a stream of consciousness.
Well done.
Welcome to You Got Me Monologuing.
Welcome to the show. I'm not even logged in.
yes.
My stream is lagging. I thought it was just my camera specifically, but no, it's the whole thing.
Wow.
Like my stream is leaking.
I'm looking at the
Lagging.
cast.
Strange
John
thing.
John Astin was the lead. You guys know who John Astin is?
Yeah.
Sean Astin's dad.
Yes.
But also known as
The original
the original
Gomez.
Gomez.
yeah.
Gomez
Gomez
Adams. Yeah, let's finish that thought.
It
They're
would've been
probably-
you know what?
Some of
would've
these
been-
kids are going, Gomez? Gomez who?
Adam's family is actually still popular
Oh, yeah.
nowadays.
And Wednesday's getting her own show
I saw that. Yeah.
Oscar
as an
Isaac-
adult.
And it's
Yeah.
Christina Ricci coming back, as if I saw
No,
it.
I don't think
No,
she's doing
it's
it.
not her, but
No.
she's in the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
but as
She's
a
not playing Wednesday.
new character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's Wednesday as an adult getting her own show.
Honestly,
kinda fun.
something that could have been like a really funny coincidence for.
Yeah.
You know how you mentioned John Astin was Sean Astin's dad?
Yep.
Imagine if they had
See, because
John
you're
Astin
young,
playing
and
the
if you're
Stan
old
White
like me, you
Scampi, the
remember the
Ralph
original,
Bakshi
so black and
animation,
white.
The Lord of
Did
the
you? Yeah.
Rings.
That's awesome.
Kind of fun.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
well.
Right, yeah, right.
So I know normally we do our rambling for a good 45 minutes before we start talking about our topic.
24.
We're at 24 minutes at this point, but we've only been talking, that they could hear
Let's
us
see
for
if I can
20
get
of it.
home before midnight this time.
All right.
So, and we've got a topic here that's going to, I think we're going to be able to expound quite a bit with the amount of experience around this table.
Hell yeah.
So let's kind of work our way into video games. Hey, Blades, how you
Ladies
doing?
and gents, this is the moment I've waited for.
Yeah. So which is why we need to rein you in. So
I already
So-
got an awesome preview.
so here's my suggestion.
Yes, here we go.
I picked out, I think, 12 or 13 games, and I can rattle off the games and the game and the console, right? I'll rattle them off. And then Pasquale rattles off the game and the console.
Okay.
Or media, whatever you want to call it. Not console or video. Or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then Tony does the same, and then Joey does the same. And then we'll compare notes and see if there are any
Similarities,
duplicates,
yeah.
similarities, whatever the case may be. And then that'll give us kind of a jumping off point,
Yeah.
right? Because if we just let Joey talk about Mass Effect 3 for 45 minutes, I'm going to jump off a bridge.
Right.
So he can talk about it. That's certainly fine. But
Yeah, I know.
I tried to play that game. I tried to play that game for 5 minutes, and I almost jumped off a
Mass
bridge.
Effect 3?
Whatever the game is that you play. What's it called?
Mass Effect 3.
Mass Effect. Yeah, whatever it is. It's all the same.
I
So
know, but why
More
you
like
do-
more like Ass Effect, am I right?
Mass Effect.
Wow.
I will fight you.
Hey, oppa. So I don't care who goes first. That was just my thought. I thought
So-
that'd be a good way to get it all out, and then we can go from there.
So my list is kind of weird because like you, I've been around for every generation of video games so
Yeah.
far.
I tried to pick something from every iteration.
So
right?
what I kind of did was I made a list of
Commodore 64 titles.
well, yeah, it's like no, sir. What are you laughing at?
Yeah, right.
I had a Commodore 64,
Yeah.
an Amiga 128.
Yeah, I have one
had
too.
I had a Atari 2600.
Yes,
What was your?
that's why we tried to limit it, because otherwise we would just wax on for the entire time.
Exactly. So, I'll start. I'll throw my first one out there. Is my favorite cabinet game, video arcade game, because I can go cabinet games, I can go console, I can go early PC, late PC. So, my favorite cabinet video game is Cyberball. It was the robot football game that had side-by-side screens where two players could play against each other, and when your robot got injured, he'd start to smoke, and if you hit him really hard, he would explode.
Oh yeah.
Cyberball, my favorite stand-up cabinet game. Joey, give us one of yours.
Mass Effect Trilogy.
So,
Oh, you want me to go through the whole
So
list?
when I
Okay.
made that suggestion, and then you listened to my whole suggestion, and then you completely threw it out the window and did something completely
All right,
different,
fine.
that's fine. I just thought maybe we should have a conversation about what you actually want to do then.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
Because my suggestion was list all of yours,
Okay,
and then
so-
he'll list all of his, and
Cabinet
then I'll
game.
list all of mine,
All right.
and then Joey can list all of his, because if you ask Joey about which his favorite game is, he's going to talk for 45 minutes about Mass Effect 3.
Okay.
So,
All right. So my favorite cabinet game is Cyberball. My favorite early video game, or computer PC, Zork. I love the hell out of some
yeah.
Zork.
Yeah.
Um,
Atari 2C.
my favorite game on the Atari was Asteroids. My favorite mid to late PC game would have been TIE Fighter. And then I will go for late to modern console game. I dig Batman.
It doesn't have to be
Arkham
favorite,
Knight.
just like influential,
Yeah.
or what you played the most,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
things to talk about, right?
Yeah. I'll probably say because the thing is, consoles were not really my big jam.
Yeah.
I had a Nintendo 1, and then the next game system I bought was a PlayStation 2. So I skipped over a
Sega,
lot
Super
of
Nintendo.
generations of video games.
You think you skipped over a lot of generations.
Yeah.
Skipped over the green.
Yeah. Let's.
And I bought my PlayStation 2 just to play Guitar Hero, and I bought it right before the PlayStation 3 came out because I was smart that way. All right, so Pasquale, your top 5.
Atari 2600, the combat game, which was ping pong.
Yep.
So it was pong.
That's cool. I remember that game. I never had that system, but I remember that game.
Yeah, it was cool just because you can actually play like have it bounce. You know, like it wasn't just like two paddles on the side, and it was like teaching you geometry in a way.
Yeah.
So, do you have a list of games you'd like to list off?
Sure. Super Mario.
I tried, guys.
Oh, no,
I tried to give some direction to this episode.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked.
Yeah, no, whatever.
Nintendo is probably going to be Super Mario 3. Super Nintendo, Rogue Squadron. Did you guys arcade thing? I think it was the Neo Geo arcade. Actually, it was a game called Windjammers.
Never heard
You'd
of
actually
it.
throw a frisbee, and it was just
Cool.
anyhow. Nintendo 64, Super Mario 64. It was, and then current generation, Uncharted, and Last of Us. I like the Naughty Dog titles.
Those
Good
are cool.
choices.
Never played any of those.
I like,
Very cool.
I like the games that actually are story based.
Yeah. All right, Todd.
So, my early days stand-up games, it was Galaga and the Star Wars games.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I had an Intellivision. I never owned a Nintendo or an Atari.
Yeah.
So Pitfall was my jam.
That's a great one.
And then I got a Sega Genesis, and we played Mutant League Football. I played Master of Monsters, which I still play,
Nice.
and golf, because everybody can play golf. Then I got a PlayStation 1, and we played Resident Evil.
Yeah, that's a
the
great
remake?
one.
No. The original Resident Evil.
I know they did a remake in like 2000.
Yeah. No, I'm
That
talking
wasn't for the
about-
PlayStation 1, though.
PlayStation 1. The reason I bought the game, I spent $500 on a living with my girlfriend. Not even with my girlfriend. I was not living with Stacy yet. I had a roommate, and I bought a $400 console to play this stupid video game. Right. Then we got a computer. I played Dungeons and Dragons Online for many years.
Yeah.
Almost. Never mind. Then I played a lot of World of Tanks online.
Well, yeah.
And then other computer games were Civilization, SimCity, and then my most recent and still most favorite game of all time probably is Fallout 4. Like, I still play Fallout 4. I've played Skyrim off and on, which is obviously still Bethesda, but
Right.
Fallout 4 is my jam. Like,
It's a great world.
it's probably my number one all-time favorite game of all time.
Awesome.
Even though I'm a D&D guy and I play DDO I still play it. Like, once a year, I log into DDO, download all the stuff. It's all still free, and I'll play it for 2 or 3 months, and then never play it for another 18 months.
Right.
But I still play Fallout once a month at least. So
Sure.
7 years. Fallout 4 is 7 years old.
yeah, 7 years old. Yeah,
Damn.
before the store.
I'm
Hey, Joey,
old.
here's your time to shine, bro.
Mine is a
What
top
games?
10.
What games do you play?
Mine is a top.
Mass
10.
Effect 1, Mass Effect 2,
Two,
Mass
Mass
Effect
Effect
3.
No, the trilogy is all taking the number one spot.
Oh, that's good.
So we've got the Mass Effect trilogy, Cyberpunk 2077,
Oh yeah.
any of the old Republic Star Wars games, Jedi Fallen Order. I love the Lego games still.
Oh yeah. They're fun.
Yeah,
Those are fun beer and pretzel
Yeah,
games.
they're great games.
yeah. Force
Hey, kids
Unleashed,
play those games.
Devil May Cry 5, the Resident Evil games, Sims 4, and I had one other one. It'll come to me in a minute. Oh, Batman Arkham games. So
That's good.
And I have that in common.
Yeah.
What about Mortal Kombat 11?
That was fun for a while, but then
Every time I would go to your
after-
house, it's like Mortal Kombat 11.
Oh yeah.
After the devs stopped updating it, I lost interest. Like,
To be the guy that, like, you play a game where devs constantly update. Back in my day, they used to just be on a cartridge.
I mean, yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
I
However,
was-
I kind of collected
I'm
all the
kidding.
That's true. However, I kind of collected all I needed to collect, and like the gameplay loop was getting boring. So
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. He'd be like, grind these fights on these easy ass levels just to get this pair of sunglasses for Johnny Cage. It's like, okay, I can't.
So no.
But-
yeah,
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So how many of you guys were MMO guys? Like,
Oh yeah,
so what is your MMO, or what
City-
were your MMOs? City of Heroes.
I did. City of Heroes was my
was your
absolute
jam.
jam right there. I haven't found one that I've liked as much before or since. I tried Star Wars Galaxies when that first came out, and sitting there crafting with your Wookiee, doing a little dance as he sat at the crafting table, just was not fun.
Crafting with your Wookiee sounds really personal.
Right? I did EverQuest for a little bit, but City of Heroes, that was my MMO right there.
How about you? Do you ever do any MMOs?
No, unfortunately not. Age of Empires was not an MMO, but
No.
that was the closest thing I got
cool
to,
game. I
to
played that
LAN
game.
parties and all that. Like
Yeah.
I did those.
Because you can play them together. I never did a LAN party, but
Here's one for Todd.
yeah.
Penny the Get wants to know, what's your favorite text-based BBS game?
Ooh, wow.
So text-based, like you had mentioned Zork earlier.
Yeah.
I've played Call of Cthulhu text-based games. I've played
you play
Zork games.
The
Played all the
Hitchhiker's Guide
Zork
to the
games.
Galaxy one.
Which one? Hitchhiker's yes. Oh yeah. I mean because back in my day,
Yeah.
text-based games were the thing, right? So it was Zork, it was Planetfall, it was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy,
Oregon Trail.
It was Call of Cthulhu. All of these things that were all browser slash whatever game. And there was Zork 1 through 0 through 8 or whatever it was, right? So I never ever finished any of them other than the first one, but. For Zork, as far as that goes, but you can still play all of those. By the way,
Yeah.
Right.
you ever
absolutely.
log back in and try to play Zork 1? You're like, go west. Oh, Go up. Open bird. Open.
bird?
Open bird egg, or it's like there's
Yeah.
an egg in the tree,
And you
in the tree, and there's a key. Or,
you had to guess the right command
Yeah.
that might do the
Yes,
thing that you
right.
wanted to do.
Exactly right. And back in my day, if I can, when we played Zork, my freshman year of college, I was on the computer science floor of my dorm, and so everybody in my floor were making their own text-based games.
Right.
So I would play my friends' text-based games.
So games we may never heard of, but they were just independent.
No, they were. No, I mean, everybody did it. I mean,
Yeah.
there were 20 of them. Like they just did their own. They were all just like Zork, right? So it was like, go left, go right. Oh, now you're in this room, and then it was just all if then
I
this.
still remember
they
when
just did it in their fun time.
when playing Zork, you'd sit there. I'd draw a map. That's like because I had to know where I was
Yes.
going and where
Oh,
I was
yeah.
go. Because
I
you
still
didn't
have my hand drawn Zork maps.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
See, this
That's
is
the
what
old
you
school.
missed.
That's a,
You also
you're
missed
lucky that you missed. Yeah. Boop. Yeah. Well,
The other thing that he missed
that's
is
another whole thing.
the number one reason I didn't play MMOs back in the day is computer upgrading. Graphics card,
Was the
memories,
thing.
all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like every time a next gen game came out and stuff, I did not have the knowledge to build a PC.
Yeah.
I had parents that did not understand that
Right.
either.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So I remember getting X-Wing versus TIE Fighter and
Oh,
being
yeah.
extremely frustrated. I couldn't install it at my dad's work computer.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Hell,
So that's when consoles came out, and I was like, ooh,
Right.
I could just put the game in and play.
I even tried to install Star Wars: The Old Republic on my mom's laptop way back in the day, and it did not run at all.
Right.
And now
And,
it
and
runs
that was
on our
a
phone.
that was a modern generation
No, it
laptop,
doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
just with shitty graphic card.
Right. It's just because it's a laptop.
right.
Star Wars: The Old Republic doesn't run on a phone.
Isn't KOTOR on a phone?
That's Knights of the Old Republic. Star Wars: The Old Republic
Oh,
is a
no,
different
not
beast
the-
entirely.
Yeah. that
Wildly
is-
different. How dare you?
That is-
I'm offended that you wouldn't know
Yeah.
the difference.
That is Joey's.
Sorry, my geek cred has
There's
been
one word difference in the title of those two
Right.
games.
That is Joey's MMO.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which way?
fun-
Which one is your MMO?
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Star Wars: The Old Republic. So it's
It takes place.
SWTOR.
SWTOR. Yes.
Say it again.
SWTOR.
SWTOR.
So,
These
game-
things are all new to me.
it's been.
They've been around for 20 years. I have no idea.
SWTOR has been online since 2011, and I have no idea how it survived the Disney purge, but I'm glad it did.
Well, yeah. I don't-
Disney is not that evil. They're just capitalists.
That's
Well-
true. However, they did wipe
Wait,
out
I think you
a
just
lot
said
of
the same
other-
thing.
I mean, yes. A little bit of this, a
You
little bit of
just kinda
that.
contradicted yourself.
They did wipe
They're
out.
not like-
Evil.
They did
But
wipe
they're
out
not
a
going to
bunch-
wipe something out just because they didn't create it. They just absorb it and then continue
Right.
to make money. off it.
Except they did wipe out a
Unless
bunch
they
of
can make money
unfinished
off it.
products like 1313.
So it's funny that between us, nobody played WoW. Nobody was a WoW
Oh,
guy.
hell
I was not a WoW guy.
So I've played WoW, and my brother was a huge WoW guy.
Yeah.
Like
I thought he would be
the
all about the
hugest of
Evercrack.
WoW guys. And my brother was also an Evercrack guy, an EverQuest.
Right.
I never played any. I mean, I've played them all,
Did
but
you do Lord of the Rings online?
I've played it, but I didn't get into it
Right.
because the same, like literally the same year Lord of the Rings came out was
99.
when Dungeons and Dragons Online came out.
Gotcha.
So I got into DDO, and I played DDO for years. It's still live. It's still supported by it's not the original company, but it's
Right.
still owned by a company. They just did a big update to it. Isle of Dread just came out, so now you can play Isle of Dread in DDO and Vecna. Of course, they put Vecna in it.
Nice.
So now you can go fight Vecna in the new DDO. And I literally once a year. I will log in because your account never expires. I still have all my same characters I started
Nice.
in 2005. So my characters that I created in 2005 in DDO, I still have.
Yeah.
And I don't pay anything monthly or anything, right? Because I never play it. So I'll log in once a year, do the whole download thing. Takes about a day to get all the downloads, and then I'll throw my credit card down and pay whatever it is nowadays, $20 or $25,
Right.
and that way I can play all my old characters. And they give you all kinds of free stuff because you haven't played for a year. So then I'll upgrade one of my old characters, reincarnate them, do all the cool stuff, go play all the new content for about a month.
Kill a few gods.
Kill a few gods, do whatever, check out the cool. They did Temple of Elemental Evil. I'm a D&D guy, right?
Yep.
go do all the new content for about a month and then be done with it.
Yeah.
And I only buy a month of subscription, so then you can still play after that. It's totally free to play. You just can't play all of your characters,
Right.
all
Yeah.
the craziness, right?
Right.
So, and I let it go away, and that's really the only MMO I ever. I mean, I dedicated many, 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 many hours to that.
My wife once got angry at me because I was in the middle of a giant raid in City of Heroes.
Yeah.
And she was smooching on my neck trying to give me.
Hey, baby.
Yeah. And I'm like, right.
You're like, but I gotta kill this. I gotta kill Sinestro.
I'm like, do you know how long I've been at this mission? I don't have to
appreciate it,
start
but not the
over.
time.
Oh,
You
God.
are the nerd that gives us.
I love you, but we have the rest of our life. I can only do this one time.
Yeah.
It was not a good night in the Marivola household.
Did you have to sleep on the couch?
And
I
18
probably
years
should
later,
have.
Yeah, right.
someone
Yeah.
appeared.
I felt the anger radiating
Yes.
off of your mother for days.
I've had same experience.
Yeah.
Different game, same experience.
You said you'd think I was the other quest guy, but you got to remember the thing about me. He's the fantasy guy. I'm the sci-fi comic
Right.
book guy. So while yes, I dabbled in it, and I was dumbfounded. Like the EverQuest economy outside of that freaking game.
Right.
My buddy Dave went and he's like, yeah, I leveled this guy up to level 70, top level at the time, and he's got all this cool stuff. And he turned around and he's like, yeah, I sold him for $1,200. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, someone paid $1,200
People
for
made bank on that game,
Yeah.
man. Especially that one initially.
Oh
Wait,
my
you could
God.
spell
I mean,
characters?
for wow.
One
Well,
thing
your
I know
account.
about gamers is no matter what it is, whether
No.
it's a Star Wars trading card game, digital app, or World of Warcraft player or something, someone out there will pay for anything.
Yeah,
Right.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
DDO is still that way. You can still buy rare gear and stuff, and people will sell you things for hundreds of dollars online. You just here's your code. Blah, blah, blah,
I
you
mean,
still buy it.
did you guys see the on Apple TV? There's that show Robin McElhaney does called Mythic Quest. Kind of spoofs the whole MMO. Like he's basically a game creator that makes
Yeah.
like this, Evercrack type
Mythic
thing.
Quest does
And
sound
it's-
familiar.
Yeah, it's a comedy, but it's hilarious. You guys should check it out.
One genre of games that none of us touched on, but was one of my favorites all throughout the 90s were the real-time strategy games. Started with Warcraft,
Yeah.
then I moved into StarCraft
StarCraft,
and Command and Conquer.
Yeah.
Those were my top. Yeah, I played.
Age of Empires. That was it.
I played
Well,
that.
COC changed the landscape, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
was a whole thing.
Yeah.
There were entire businesses opened.
Command and Conquer.
Yeah, for COC. I mean, that's all they were. They were an internet LAN shop, but that's all they did. It was play
Right.
Command and Conquer.
Oh, and something you would never know about. They used to. What store was it? Was there a Wizards of the Coast store in Woodfield Mall?
Yes, because I worked there.
And they had
I
a
literally worked there.
right, and
Yeah.
they had land
Yes,
set
Is it
up
on
in
the
there.
lower level to electronic
and you
boutique?
could rent
No,
time
it was-
to
yes,
sit on the
I
land.
literally worked there. Yeah.
If you didn't have a good internet connection at home or
Yep.
whatnot, you could just rent time on their computers.
And it became so easy to make money doing that nobody wanted to sell any games in the store.
Right.
So we just started soliciting people like, hey, you should come back here and play in our LAN games. Because we were making ridiculous amounts of money off of guys that would just come back there.
You guys basically turned into an internet cafe.
It really did.
yeah.
Like the smart thing to do with that business would have been to have gotten rid of 90% of the games and just made it all internet cafe for that moment.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because when I had my first store, one of my customers, super nice guy, he's like, hey, I'm opening he got a big inheritance. Somebody died. He got a big inheritance. He's like, hey, I'm opening a LAN cafe in Elgin. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I live in Elgin. Like, that's awesome. Like,
Right.
where's it at? He's like, oh, it's right at the corner of Bose and Randall Road. I'm like, you shut your mouth because I live right there.
right?
Portillo's.
It's the you know what it is right now? It's Lou Malnati's, right? Right in
I
front.
know exactly what
It's right. It was right in that same shop, and it was there for about 2 years.
Right.
And super nice guy, and he opened, and that's all it was.
It's
it was like
around
it was
the
like
corner from the Wingstop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole-
Yeah.
All right.
it was like 20 stations. That's all it was. That's all they did was play COC. That's 100% what they
Right.
did. And he made bank for like a year and a half because he got a bunch of money from some relative who passed away, and he got a big inheritance. Spent $100,000 making this place up, and he probably made $1 million.
Yeah.
And then when it started to die, he closed it instantly.
Sure.
You know, it's interesting. Like, so internet cafes obviously wouldn't work as well now, but
No.
there is one thing that constantly exists now is, the internet gaming
Yeah, but the thing
with
is,
the giant teams.
yeah,
The esports.
the esports.
Yeah, esports. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. Like there is a way to monetize it.
Oh yeah,
Like,
oh yeah.
turn it into like an esports cafe.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Gen Con 97. There was a massive LAN set up there,
Yep.
and you just go, it's $6 an hour. Let me
Yep.
go.
I
let me
played
go.
it. I played in it.
Hell yeah, I did. And that's why I play. You ever play? And another genre we really didn't talk too much about is the first person shooter.
Oh,
Yo,
hell yeah.
because
Doom.
for me, Wolfenstein 3D,
Yeah.
and then Doom.
And I'm old.
For
and
me,
I didn't play
it
any
was
of those.
Cyberpunk
and I hate
2077.
first-person shooters because I'm old and grognard.
GoldenEye.
I hate them. I'm awful at 'em.
Dude, you were in your 20s when Doom
I
dropped.
hated them. I
Well,
could never do them.
Actually,
Okay.
I know a now much better first-person shooter game that I forgot to mention.
Sure.
2017's Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Okay.
Hey, it got some updates that made it really good.
Back in
Right.
my day, there was the original Battlefront 2.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
and I
I
got
just want to say how many times I can say.
Well, and I still remember like 97 going to Gen Con, and I was introduced to this really cool, one of my favorites, and I'm disappointed I never bought it. It was a first-person shooter called Blood. I don't know if anybody here ever heard of it.
Nope.
It was basically a horror-based game where weapons included. One of my favorites was a voodoo doll, where you go find yourself a place to hide that had a wide view of the field, and when you stabbed the voodoo doll, you took a point of damage, but anyone in your field of vision also started
Also
taking
took
damage.
damage, yeah.
So you're stabbing yourself in the hand. You could run around with a hairspray can and a lighter.
Nice.
It
and
looks
just
like a
set
Doom
people-
clone.
Yeah,
That actually,
it was.
That
It
actually
was.
reminds me of something. Todd, you know how you mentioned you played Resident Evil earlier?
Resident Evil 1, yes.
Nowadays,
The original Resident Evil.
Third-person shooter.
Yes.
yes, but nowadays with the newer Resident Evil titles, they've actually been delving into first person, like specifically with
And Todd would hate that.
7 and 8.
Yeah.
Are completely first person, and it does add to the horrific atmosphere.
Well, sure.
I tried to play when I got a new computer 10 years ago. And like,
Blood
oh, and it
owns.
was like I got a Steam account and it was like, oh, here's a free Resident Evil title. Like, oh, cool, I'll download it.
Which one?
I don't have any clue what it was. But I'm like, I'll download it and try it out. Oh, it's first person shooter, and I'm like, and like, and I died horribly. I'm like, well,
Hey.
I just don't know what I'm doing.
Well,
so I tried start over, like, oh, here they are, and it was like the training like intro mission, like shoot this zombie, and I'm like, I'm like, yeah, this
was an
isn't
actual
for me.
first
This is
person?
not my. This is not for me.
And it was an actual first person?
Which game was it?
I don't know. That's
Okay.
my point.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
would have been like
it was
7 or
it
something.
was a Resident Evil first-person shooter, and I died horribly in the training missions, showing me how to shoot at things, and I'm like, yeah, this is not for me.
Did you ever go
So
to
Shintai Bane brings up the BattleTech Center at North Pier. Was
Well,
awesome.
yeah,
The
yeah.
battle pods. They're at Gen Con every
So-
year.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So when I was 16 years old, I would save up my money, and my brother and I, because my brother would drive me, because he's older than I am, we would drive to North Pier, and we would blow I would blow all of my money, and it would only take like 3 or 4 games to blow all
Right.
my money. And then my brother would loan me some money, and we'd play 1 or 2 more, and get the printout and watch the videos on the screen and just hang out and just play. It was the super coolest thing of all time.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, for the era.
Now, back then, what was it running?
It was unprecedented how cool that was.
What was it running? Mech Warrior 2 at the time?
I couldn't even tell you, dude. I don't have the slightest clue, but it was like $7 or $8 or $9 a pod. You
Yeah.
know, like if it was a 20-minute pod or something
Yeah, it's
like
like
that.
$25 at Gen Con now, I
Yeah,
think.
well, and I would bring $30, and I would play 2 or 3 or 4 times at
Right.
most, maybe. Like I said, my brother would loan me. He'd buy me another one, and then we'd play one more time.
Right.
Because we drove 2 hours to get there.
So you might
You know
yeah,
what I
get
mean?
your money's worth.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome, JT. And yes, that
So
Dark
cool,
City
man.
is a fantastic movie that was inspired by the game Blood, he said.
Oh, okay.
I
yeah.
haven't seen it.
Just make sure you watch the director's cut.
Yeah, I've got it at home.
Okay.
I think you'll like it. It's a really dark gothic horror sci-fi all rolled into one.
Kiefer Sutherland.
All right.
Kiefer Sutherland, absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic.
I've never
movie.
played. I never did very well on this game, but you guys remember because you guys have glossed over puzzle games, like Myst.
Well, I mean,
Puzzle games hurt my brain.
I did mention the Lego games. Those are basically puzzle
Yeah.
games.
they really?
Well, okay, so
Yeah.
this was like
Yeah,
it was
but
interesting. I watched a documentary on it, and so these games were distributed on CD-ROMs. So like this was after the 3 3/4.
right.
So, and what the guy was doing was the guy who had created this Mist thing, he had to build in the loading screen times. He had to build in like all the graphics.
The first PlayStation had a lot of those games.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the one PlayStation game I played was Vampire, or it was just called D.
Okay.
It was just called D because it was a puzzle game. It was a classic CD-ROM puzzle game.
Yeah, you just went into each room.
Yeah,
like,
you go
and
to
it
room
would
and go,
reload.
where do we go here? Where do we go there? And then of course the big reveal at the end was the D was Dracula, right?
Oh, okay.
That was the big reveal, right?
Oh, wow.
So but it was that classic game. So you could only literally you would buy this CD-ROM
Yeah.
for $35,
Uh-huh.
and you would go home and play it, and you played it once.
Yep.
And once you
The
played it,
replayability,
you literally could never
yeah.
play it again. I mean, you could play it as many times as you wanted because things would change, but you always knew what the
You got the answer.
yeah, you got the twist beforehand. So like my friend brought it over and he's like, "Hey, let's play this game. It's really cool." And it was just called like, what's it called? It's called D. I'm like, all right, whatever. So we played it. It was super cool. The first time we played it, we're like, well, how will this ever be fun to play again? So basically, you pay $35 to play one
I'm
video
actually
game
wondering
one
if
time.
that's why they died out a little.
But, and you know that was kind of like the very, very earliest games that came out on PlayStation, or those kinds of games.
Because I think about like the Uncharted series, right? It's Indiana Jones, and it's got like Indiana Jones had guns in it, but it's got a little bit of third-person shooter puzzles.
Sure.
But it's a lot more jumping around. It's got that traditional Indiana style video games that they used to do for the PC
Right.
back in the day. But you're right. If you do those puzzles and you know the tricks, you go past them really quick,
Right.
and you just start playing the story.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
So
kinda,
a new modern game has to like work on multiple levels.
Right.
It can't just be a puzzle game. It can't just be a shooter. It can't just be only story because then you're watching a movie.
Right.
Right.
yeah.
Or
And,
it
like,
has to be. Go ahead.
and like
Yeah.
I've kind of been experiencing something similar with
Oh, is that all?
the Mass Effect trilogy and more currently
Which
Jedi
console?
Fallen Order, because with Mass Effect it's a good blend of the RPG elements with third-person shooter, but once you get really good at the
Telltale ones?
third-person shooter, you can just sort of blaze
They did the
through the
Batman
enemies like nothing, to the point where it's all just the RPG
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And with Fallen Order,
I haven't finished them all. yet.
there's a lot
keep seeing them.
of traversal and some puzzles. And if you on a subsequent playthrough, if you already know the puzzles, you can just be like, all right, boom, solve it after like a minute, and then just keep moving on to the next combat section.
That's why. That's why.
What game is that?
Jedi Fallen, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen.
It's a Souls
What?
type game. And speaking
Yeah.
of which,
Until Dawn. I don't think I've heard of
gentlemen, have any of you played Dark Souls or any sort of Dark Souls type game?
it. I had the first Dark Souls game, and I got it as a gift. And
Our guests have played
it was
them.
not my gift. I was wondering
I
why
have not.
this was impossible to get past the first part.
I never did. What genre game is it?
Souls
It's
it's the Souls
it's
game.
kind of a little bit of a fantasy setting,
Sure.
mixed with a
100%
little
of it.
horror thing, but it is a third person.
Yes, it is.
combat.
Dark Souls is third person.
Impossible to win. Beat your brains out. Got to keep playing the whole thing over and over and over and over and over and over.
Dark Souls is the epitome of trial and error.
No, I've played old school games because I am old school, and I beat all those old school games. I've seen people play that game. I'm like, this game is bullshit. I'm not playing this game more than one time. I'm like, that's too hard for me.
Right.
Like, I'm not playing games that if a game doesn't have a easy mode, I'm not playing that game because I play games to have fun, not to get my brains beat in for 37 hours straight. Because I have a life. So
I had the same mentality, but more recently I have been trying to play some of the more difficult difficulties to see if I can hone my skills a bit better. Sure. And
Right.
it has
But
definitely worked.
that's actually kind of the fun ones, right? Like, because like expert is almost like golden gun. You get shot once,
Right.
and you're dead, right?
Meanwhile,
Whereas,
easy mode literally turns you into a gun that can absorb so many bullets.
and I don't mind
Just-
games like I think I assume because I've not played it. The newest kind of rage is Elden Ring, which has a very
Yeah.
it looks
The
a lot like
Maiden?
like those kind of games. And there are parts of it that are super easy because it's just a choppy. You
Sure.
run around and kill things. but it's also got some very difficult bosses that are you take a lot of tactics, and you have to you have to have the right equipment, and you have to know how to beat them. So it's got a good mix of those kinds of things. So those are games that I will play those games. That I can run around and kill all the kind of cool stuff. And like, oh, there's a big guy over there. I can't kill that guy. I'm just not gonna fight that guy. Like, I'm not interested in the grind. Like, I want to play the game. Like, I want to have fun. I want to kill stuff. Like,
Right.
And so for example, and Tony, we're talking about genres of games. Like,
Yeah.
I'm old school. I don't like real-time strategy. I like turn-based strategy because I want to be able to think about what I'm doing.
Right.
I want to be able to look at all the rules. I want to look at all the options. I play the World War II era Panzer Leader, Panzer Blitz computer game versions of those. Have been around. I played those on my PlayStation 1. Panzer Blitz, Panzer Leader games.
And if I go back a little bit further, one of my favorite, what I'll call mid PC games,
Yeah.
right? It was after the Commodore 64 128, the track and fields and the Winter Olympics.
Right.
But
Twitchy games.
Yeah. But it was what's Great Naval Battles, the Battle of Midway.
Yes.
And-
Turn-based, strategy-based, or so you could do your thing, you could plot your movement and do all your stuff.
Set your
It
caps,
wasn't
set
real
out
time.
the
It's the
scouts.
opposite of real time, right?
Right.
So those are real-time games are fun. I played some when Warcraft came out on PlayStation. I played Warcraft, and I didn't have any kids, and I would play it in my bedroom, and my wife would be laying in bed, and she would watch me play Warcraft, and she would to this day, if I'll say something about Warcraft, she'll go, "Yes, Captain, you're the captain. I captain. Yes, Captain, you're the captain. I captain.
That's
Zug
funny.
zug. Slow boo." That kind of stuff. Like,
So-
If I can make
she
a
remember-
suggestion. If I can make a suggestion for you, you say you like more of the turn-based
Yes.
strategy game.
That's why he likes BattleTech and not Mech Warrior.
right, exactly.
I would kind of suggest Knights of the Old Republic because it does function a lot like D&D.
Well, yeah, it's an RPG.
I mean, yeah, but even down to where you have like strength, dexterity, constitution.
So I'm
all
very
that.
I'm very specific. Like, so when you're talking about an MMO style game,
Actually, no,
it's
this
a
is
straight up
this
single
is-
player RPG.
Yeah, this Knights of the Old Republic is single player. The Old Republic, that's the MMO. I get it's confusing.
so the difference bit for me is, do you have to hit the mouse every time you want to swing your sword or your lightsaber or shoot your gun?
No,
Or do you have to, or can you just push it and go? Pew, 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 pew,
there
pew, pew,
is
pew,
like
pew, 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 pew.
you can input commands and like pause mid-fight in order to input
You got to
commands
figure
for
out what you want to do.
yeah, for yourself and
Yeah, that
your
kinda
two
s-
companions.
Yeah,
in
because
combat.
I need time to think. Like, the real time stuff is just too much for my brain.
Right.
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
played them and I like them and I get their appeal. But even like, I'm a huge Warhammer guy. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings guy. The real time Lord of the Rings games and the Warhammer games, like, they're just too much for me. I can't.
Well-
it's too much input for me. I cannot react fast enough.
It's with
I need a
StarCraft.
turn-based thing.
Me, Brett, my brother, and Dave
And I
used to
played some
play the
StarCraft,
hell
and I
of
was horrible at
StarCraft. And that's the thing. I took Protoss because they're easy mode, right?
Right.
the Protoss are the fucking Space Marines of that game.
Right. And you could try to Zerg. Just
Right.
Zerg, like literally Zerg. Just
Yeah.
Zerg across the board.
Zergling rush.
Zerg.
Yeah, and my
But
my
if you
Protoss
send Buzz Lightyear after him, he just died.
right. My whole strategy was as fast as I can build everything you need. Now start putting up the towers,
Right.
Because they'll defeat air and ground, and then all I do is put a ring of those towers, and then I wait till I build my aircraft carriers,
Right.
and that was my strategy. So, but we were kind of jerks because we get onto Blizzard, Blizzard.net, and it's like
Rush to the Google bro.
we'll be like, let's get into a 3v. We'll get into a 3v3 game. And if we were all three on the same team, cool.
Right.
But in the event that they split three of us up, you'd have two on one side, one on the other. And whoever was all by themselves would be the center defense for their side of the team. They'd build up the towers in the middle. And then once everything's built up and ready to go, the two people would turn around and shut off the ally with the one guy.
Right.
And we'd swamp him. And then when we'd come across the thing and they'd start, his defense would start shooting us, well, then we'd allied with him, and we just rolled through and slaughtered everything else because we were dicks.
Right. Well, that's what you did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can never. I'm always a turn-based guy. There's lots of other games out there. Obviously, I'm not a huge video gamer, but I've played a lot of video
Right.
games. Right. And I always love the hex-based, turn-based. I get time to think about doing things in
Yeah.
the games, especially if they're historical. I played a lot of historical games along those lines. A lot of fun. I love all those kind of games.
So I have a query for you,
A
gentlemen.
query?
Query.
A query.
Of all the video games you've played, which one do you think had the best story?
Best story.
Yeah, like a single player campaign or like the whole.
Is your answer going to be Mass Effect?
Yes, it is.
It's a
Mass
tie
Effect
between
3.
Mass Effect and Cyberpunk
Mass
2077,
Effect 3.
honestly,
Put your
because
pants back
both
on,
of those
alright?
stories are absolutely
God's sake.
phenomenal.
I mean, for me, again, my most current 7-year-old game is Fallout. Like,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
the post-apocalyptic
Story, yeah.
stuff.
Right.
I just love all that. I mean,
Yeah.
even when it comes to movies and like I Am Legend and all of that kind of stuff. I'm not a huge sci-fi guy, but I'm a sucker for a post-apocalyptic
Sure.
story.
Yeah.
And I think the Fallout series as a whole it's hysterical and sad and funny and
Yeah.
emotional and
Have you seen the new
And
one
good.
with Tom Hanks and the robot?
I haven't yet. In fact, I just
Finch.
was just reminded the other day. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta
It's on
find
Apple
that.
TV.
Yeah,
It's a
because it's
Fallout
on
game with
Apple.
Tom
I like
yes,
that a lot.
no, it's not a game. It's a
I'm
movie.
kidding.
I'm kidding.
Oh, he got you there, Todd.
He did.
I mean, that was. Let's see.
Joey got me.
Well, yeah.
Have you seen the old original Mad Max? Have you seen
Of
it
course,
recently?
yeah.
I've
I
seen it
haven't.
recently.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have.
And it's fascinating how it's very similar to like it's not very post-apocalyptic.
No, but it hints at it, which is why it's so awesome.
Right.
I've only
Well,
seen
it doesn't
Fury
get
Road.
like into the Mad Max that everybody knows and loves
Because it
until the
didn't.
second
Because
one.
you could tell
Right.
that it didn't see where it was going to go while it was being written, but it hinted at some of those things, which is why. And came out in the 70s, right? So late 70s.
Yeah.
So a lot of that's I like. We're talking about science fiction, especially Asimov. I love early like 60s, 70s sci-fi.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
I never
Yeah.
got in. I
Omega
never,
Man,
other
all
than
those
Star
type-
Wars, which I would argue isn't science fiction.
It's science fantasy.
It's science. It's space opera, right?
Yeah.
So, I like old sci-fi. I like Dune and stuff like that. Although I never read Foundation, like newer sci-fi, I never got into. But I love like Mad Max is really kind of an old school feel sci-fi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what was that movie with the original? I think it was the original Andromeda Strain
Yes,
version.
Michael
of
Crichton. Yes,
No, it was in the '60s, wasn't
yes. The original movie came out in the 60s.
it?
Yes.
In the '60s.
Might have been
No,
70s.
70s.
It was 70s.
It was 70s.
Yeah, but that one was disturbing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was Michael Crichton. So
Yeah.
that in fact that was one of his earliest books and
Yes,
earliest
it was, which I read the book
adaptations.
before I saw the show, and it was a great. I read all the Michael Crichton stuff. Right now, by the way, just a note. I've
Stop,
heard
Joe.
that his name is pronounced Crichton, not Crichton.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't know that I always thought it was Crichton when I was in college and reading his books. I
Right.
said, "Oh, I found this guy, Michael Crichton. He's great." And then somebody said Michael Crichton. I'm like, oh, is that how you pronounce his name? Michael Crichton. You should look that up, Pasquale.
Yeah, you got
You have a computer. You should look that up.
because Todd doesn't have the internet at his fingers.
I don't use it.
Let's see. So, like I said, the hardest thing for me was choosing because there's so many, so many different genres and even just the different eras of video games that I've played in. Because,
Right.
I did start. I worked in an Aladdin's castle in 1991.
Well,
What's that?
I used to go there.
Right.
When I was, a few years before that, I would have killed to have that job.
Right.
I literally would have killed to have that
It
job.
was the best and the worst thing
Yeah.
ever
By
because
then, I would have been, what, you had to be 19, 20 years old, right? So,
I was 18, 19.
Yeah.
And I was in there. The greatest thing was, I had all the tokens in the world. I could
Right.
play all the video games that I want. It's
Right.
like, hey, we closed. Okay, I'm going to stand here. I'm going to play Cyberball for 2 hours
Right.
after we're done. And at the time we had Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat facing each other
Right,
on
yeah,
either
right.
side. So I mean, those were just the hot drops right there.
yeah.
But I also think about games, when I think the early, Dig Dug, Cubert. I was a Cubert master.
And for me, again,
Burger Time?
when
Burger Time?
I went to Gamma this past year,
Yeah.
they have a huge arcade in the hotel, and they had an original Gauntlet.
Oh,
And
they
it
bring
was-
that to
and it-
Gen Con.
and it was free play. And so Adrian and I, we were like walking around looking at it, we're like, dude, that's
You
a
gotta do it.
Gauntlet.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, it is. And I'm like, we didn't even say anything. We just both walked over there,
Right.
and it was, you put your card in, it was just 150 credits.
Yeah.
And then we just sat there for an hour and played through the entire gauntlet. Like,
That's awesome.
That's the cool, like, that's the dream.
Never
The
got a
work
chance
there,
to
so
do
it's
that.
ultimate, infinite, because no matter how many times you die, you get to keep playing, right?
Yep.
So it was always about how do you solve. So then when you didn't have to worry about dying, it was about how do you solve the level. And so it changed the way you played the game.
Right.
When you didn't have to worry about dying, it was all about how do you solve the level. Because when you got into that game, it was not easy to solve the. You had
No.
to like do very specific things to solve the levels.
But screw Battletoads.
Yeah, Battletoads can suck it.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Even with all
I
the
never
cheat
played
codes
that.
and stuff,
I know
still
what
hate
it
that
is,
game.
but I never played it. Everybody said that.
The other one that I
But
love-
anyway, Gauntlet was a big one in college. We played in
huge.
college too. Yeah,
I also Rampage.
Rampage.
How
for
much
sure.
Rampage? And the fact that
I
when they
spent so
made
much
that
money on
video game-
Rampage.
when they-
So much money.
When they brought that movie out, I'm like, how the hell
Right.
are you going to?
Well, it's got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, so who cares,
Wait.
right?
Rampage was an adaptation of a video game?
Oh, sweet summer child.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
So the whole
You know
point of the video
nothing,
game,
Jon Snow.
you were the giant kaiju. What you were either the lizard,
Lizard, the
the
ape.
gorilla, or the
wolf.
The wolf. Thank
Yep.
you. And your job, there were buildings, and you'd go through and you'd start smashing the buildings. Think Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and
you
then,
were
and,
Ralph.
Bigger scale.
and then a guy would go out of the window, and go and you could grab him and eat him, and that would heal you.
Or you just break open the woman. Sometimes you'd break it open, and there's a woman in the bathtub.
Yeah, well, she's like half naked.
And you just grab them and eat them.
Eat him,
And that
then
healed you.
that healed you.
I will say one of the best things and only rare things about the internet is you can actually watch playthroughs of old video games.
Yeah, of the whole
that
game.
you struggle with. Like I remember struggling with Zelda. Oh no, Final Fantasy 2. I remember as a kid, Final Fantasy 2. I couldn't get out of the freaking castle.
Yeah.
So
I was like 8 years old. I didn't know how to play it. I didn't know anything about because Mario was my thing. It wasn't Zelda, so getting into Final Fantasy was a struggle.
Or hell,
So I watched it one day on YouTube. I was like, wow, this is actually kind of fun.
or
Kinda
hell,
makes-
I've never
I-
played a minute of a Final Fantasy game ever.
neither have I.
I
But
have a story about that. Go ahead.
I actually did the same thing, but kind of in reverse. Like, instead of playing the game and getting stuck and just watching the playthrough, I watched like the playthroughs of Resident Evils 2 and 3, the remakes.
And then you went and played the game?
Yeah, because
Oh,
I know,
good.
and I did that. I watched the
Nothing wrong
playthrough
with that.
first because I never thought I'd actually own the games.
Stars.
I mean, there's something.
Stars.
My God, it was freaky.
Stars.
I mean,
Although honestly,
you could have done it worse. You
I'm
could
a
have
bit more terrified
watched
by
the horrible
Mr.
movies.
X in the second
Right,
one. Like,
Then found
he
the
was
game.
a silent killer. And actually, I watched a fandub on YouTube of a Resident Evil 2 playthrough. They just turned Mr. X from in the game into a vindictive librarian, just trying to get the books from everyone. He burst through a wall. Give me the books. Just use a door.
So we were talking about this yesterday, and I'm like, oh, what a first person shooter, and I was reminded of Duke Nukem. I'm like, because
Yeah.
the first game had it had the stupid silly like the shrink gun. You shoot him, you shrink him, you step on him, and I thought that was hysterical.
It is funny.
So I'm like, oh, you don't know about Duke Nukem?
Oh,
And-
I knew about Duke Nukem. I just hadn't seen any gameplay.
Right. So I'm like, oh, let's find some. So I pull up Duke Nukem Forever. I'm like, oh, 4 hours worth of playthrough. I'm like, well, let's see if we can find something interesting. So he started, and the game starts him with him pissing at the urinal,
You know.
and then
That's what you did.
He's going into the toilet and grabbing turd grenades. I'm like, well, this
Great.
isn't funny.
This is a great game. It's a family game.
I would for anyone watching, I would suggest looking up the YouTuber Gianni Matrogano. He does a lot of voice acting little skits. Some of my favorite stuff is when he does Duke Nukem.
I mean, Duke Nukem Forever. I was just like, why did I think this was funny? I'm like, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
get it.
things are better now. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why you thought it was funny then. Because things are much better now. Things are actually entertaining now. I will tell you real quick.
Oh yeah. Final Fantasy.
So two stories. So Final Fantasy.
Yes.
I had my PS1 that I got only because I wanted to play Resident Evil,
Right.
the first Resident Evil,
Oh, yeah.
which I played through, and my wife would sit and watch me play Resident Evil, right? because it was like watching a movie. I mean, this was really
Yeah.
really groundbreaking. Like
Yeah.
it was different than anything that we had ever seen, and we were not video gamers at all.
Right.
She did not play. She would literally sit a chair next to me and watch me play this video game for hours because it was interesting. It was like watching a movie. And then they started advertising the next Final Fantasy, which I don't remember what number it was, right? It could be 7, it could be 13. I have no
Right.
clue, whatever it was.
7 was definitely the most popular.
So whatever that number was, like Final Fantasy, the greatest game ever created by mankind. Like
Yeah, that sounds
the
like
greatest Final Fantasy ever done. The most I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'll get it. That's cool. Like everybody says it's awesome, right? So I get it. I load it in the first time. And I'm like, this is like it's like, hey, look, it's a little guy, blah, blah, blah. Like, I played Zelda, Nintendo 1. Like, this is dumb. Like, it's like a cartoon guy with a cartoon sword and a cartoon,
Tights.
animal and a cartoon tights. And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm like, that was $50 I wasted in 1990, whatever. And
you
I'll never
couldn't
have that
take it
money
to
back.
GameStop then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll bring it back to the GameStop. Like, this is stupid. I opened it. I played it for 5 seconds. You can have it back. They're like, I'll give you $8 for it. Like, I just paid $50 for it yesterday. Like, yep, I'll give you $8 for it in trade value.
And then we're gonna
Like,
turn it around
okay,
and sell it for
because I'm going to get
$45.
nothing for it. There was no internet. I couldn't just sell it online for $40, even though I just bought it for $50.
Yeah.
I had to trade it in for $8 in
Right.
credit at the dumbass game. I'm like, I was so angry. And everybody's like, you're just stupid. You don't understand. I'm like, no, I don't want to play a cartoon. Like, I want to play a game.
Right. So
It's because I'm old and grognard.
So yeah, and you just remember with Resident Evil. Actually, before that came out, there was a game. I was just looking it up because I wasn't sure if I had the name right in my head, but it was a PC game called Phantasmagoria.
Yeah, sure.
And this game came on 9 CDs.
But that sounds like it's more like one of those video games, like where you're watching a movie.
So it kind of is.
Yeah.
It was a horror walkthrough
Right,
game.
yeah, right,
But
right.
let me see if did I leave this?
It's like
pulled up?
watching a VHS, video game.
Yeah.
Video game.
Well,
Well,
it's
it's really just a movie
Yes.
cuts.
It was a point and click. It was a point and click
Yeah.
adventure game.
There was
so-
a Netflix documentary on that.
Right.
Yeah.
The game, let's see, it's made under the interactive movie games at the peak of their popularity with games like Wing Commander and Underkilling the Moon.
Yep.
All right. So I did not realize this, but it was originally like a 500-page script.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
everything you did, there was another option you could choose. It was like choose your own adventure.
Yeah, the
have so many
script numbered
forks.
roughly 550 pages when completed, about 4 times the size of an average Hollywood screenplay.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It also included another 100 pages of storyboards representing a total of 800 scenes. What they say? They said like 25 actors. $800,000 was budgeted, but it cost $4.4 million
Jeez
in
Louise.
$1995.
Right.
Jesus Christ.
That's a lot of money.
4.4 million. You said?
But it was, had good special effects. It was, and because it was cinematic,
Yeah, it was movie quality,
It was
right?
movie quality. Well, movie quality
$11
at the
million.
time.
Well, right. Yeah.
Right.
For the era. Yeah.
Um,
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
so, 2 things. First off, a fun fact about the Resident Evil franchise. Did you guys know that in Japan, Resident Evil was actually marketed under the name Biohazard instead of Resident Evil?
Interesting.
I believe it.
And
Factoid,
and
number
when
one.
s- and when 7, well, this is still part of number 1. When Resident Evil 7 came out in America,
1B.
it was advertised as Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, and in Japan it was marketed as Biohazard 7 Resident Evil. I absolutely love that gimmick, and yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bit like Super Mario 2, which was a clone of a different game.
And number 2, what are you guys' favorite hack and slash games?
Like, for example.
Like Star Wars The Force Unleashed, God of War, Devil May Cry, that sort of thing.
Golden Axe.
Wow, that's
'Cause-
old school, bro. Golden Axe. Look at you.
Because for me, it
That's
is Devil
awesome.
May Cry 5. And in fact, for anyone who might have already noticed, I dressed up for tonight. I am currently wearing a hoodie for Virgil with his Devil May Cry 5 outfit.
There you go.
I
Yeah.
have no idea what you're talking about, but okay.
He's the twin brother of the main
So
character.
here's my Devil May Cry story.
Did Dolph
I have a Devil
Lundgren-
May Golden Axe. I'm in. Like I totally
but like, it's just like supposed to be Dolph Lundgren.
yes. It's a Conan Dolph
Dolph
Lundgren.
Lundgren
Yeah.
mixed with Fabio.
So here's my only Devil May Cry story.
yeah.
When I PlayStation 1.
So probably the first one, maybe.
I
don't know.
no idea. And he's like, I went to rent a game. I'm like, hey, my wife's out of town for the weekend. I want to play a video game all weekend, but I want to. He's like, oh, this is cool. I was like, here, rent this. Like you 3 days, easy. You can solve it in like 18 hours. I'm like, that's cool. So I took it home, plug it in, playing it. I had a great time. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 2 days in, I'm like, I got to be almost done with this game. And then it was like, congratulations, you have succeeded on finishing section 2 of 7. Would you like to begin 3? And I'm like, bro, this game is due back in 3 hours. I don't think I'm going to finish 5 more sections of this game in 3 hours. I brought it back, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't get anywhere near to finish it, but it was kind of cool. He's like, okay, like he's like, okay, old guy. Like that was 20 years ago. Like I was only 30 at the time, right?
Interested in. I'm kind of wondering which Devil May Cry game it was. Like,
I mean, literally, my oldest daughter is 19, so it was before that. So it's more than 20 years ago.
So it had to be, yeah.
You know,
So, well,
Internet.
so
future
It was
topic.
a long time ago.
sorry.
Phil.
I was gonna say, he mentioned hack and slash, and I go to more to first person shooters because I did Wolfenstein, I did Doom, and I did those couples in the '90s, and then they kind of fell off for me
Okay, it
until
was probably the first Devil May Cry.
okay.
Probably.
Then I went to Half-Life. So I played Counter-Strike and I played Day of Defeat, which was a World War II mod.
No, that's cool.
And then I got in when what was it? Half-Life 2 with the Source engine came out. I switched over. I tried Counter-Strike on that and I sucked. I'm a WASD, so I learned how to do a first-person shooter like this. And be able to run circles around while I'm shooting you. Call of Duty drops, and I'm like, oh, sure, I'll try this. I played through the game, but my nephew, who was like 8 at the time, it's like, hey, Uncle Tony, want to play Call of Duty? I'm like, sure, we'll go 1v1. I step out, bam, headshot. I'm like, what the fuck are you, kid? I'll find you. Bam, headshot. I'm like, I'm going to fucking beat you, kid, because I can't do this. I cannot line up my shots.
However,
we old
with
guys
a-
can't do that. I'm
No.
that way,
However,
yeah.
I was raised on the controller, so I know.
Well,
how to
that's
work
true.
that
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
true. Yeah.
If I put you on a WASD, though, if I had
On
you
a
doing
first-person
this,
shooter, that would be helpful.
Yeah,
yes.
try playing a multiplayer mode of a console game with someone who's playing on a PC.
Right.
No,
And they could just like point and click.
I've done both.
I refuse.
I've done both.
That's the only downside to cross-compatible games.
right?
So have you guys played or seen World of Tanks or War Thunder?
Oh yeah.
No.
Yep.
So I
What's the
found
one? What are the warships?
World of Warship is same thing,
thing.
and then they have there's an air game too, right?
Yeah.
So I found World of Tanks years and years ago, and I'm like, this is really cool because I'm a history guy, right? And so I introduced my brother to it. I'm like, hey, this is a really cool game. He's like, yeah, it is really cool. And then we got another buddy into it. Hey, this game is really cool. It's great. So let's play together. So we played together for a while, like World War I, World War II, tanks, just around shooting tanks, like just tanks, shooting each other. Tanks.
Right.
And then suddenly, a year later, it was like, I'm still like having fun playing with my tier 2 tanks and my tier 3 tanks. And my brother's like, I have 17 tier 10 events, tanks, and we're playing in a super guild run event where we're going to take over the world next week. Are you in? I'm like, bro, I have a tier 3. I've got like a Panzer 3. Like that's all I've got. So my brother's a little bit more obsessive about these things
Right.
and got totally into World of Tanks
Yeah.
and like crushing everybody and was playing guilds and whatever they call them in those games, right? He's like, but I still played it a lot, and I got to.
Does he have a Discord just for that?
Yeah, well, we played. Yeah, because we had chat. We used like 3 different programs. So So he's like, "Hey, come join us," and it was fun because I would jump in, and I had enough cool tanks that I would play with them. But we had the tank game, the tank, the game.
Yeah.
And we had a chat server.
Yep.
Or a chat server, right?
Yeah. You had to use a separate chat program.
And
back
and then
in the day.
and then they had their. But the thing was, World of Tanks had a chat thing, but it was everybody.
Right.
So if you wanted to just chat with your guys,
Yep.
you had to be on a separate thing, right?
Yep, I
And
remember.
that was like my first
Chat
introduction
T,
to Discord.
Chat Y.
Or it wasn't Discord though.
Yeah.
What's one of the other? What's one of the
Oh God,
pre-Discord ones?
it's been so long.
It was Skype. We did Skype for a while because that was an early
yeah.
one. But there was another
No,
one that
there was
wasn't
one.
Discord.
There was one before Skype. Team something.
TeamSpeak. That's what it was.
TeamSpeak. Thank
so
you.
I had to get on to TeamSpeak. I'm like, what's TeamSpeak? He's like, well, you just download this thing. And I'm like, all right. So I had to learn how to do TeamSpeak. So when we would do that, we had a blast.
Yeah.
And it was fun for me to play historical tanks, run around, blowing up other tanks. Because the three of us would run together and just blow shit up, right?
Right.
We didn't care if we won or not. We just wanted to run around and mess with stuff. It was totally a great time.
Yeah.
And then when I got my Xbox, it's ported to Xbox finally, and so then I played with Adrian and some guys. We played some World of Tanks on Xbox, and it's so fun. But it's like Joey was saying, it's like if you're on the controller, like the controllers are way different. I was way better with the mouse and WASD than it was with the controller. The controller's like my turret's like I can never figure out where I'm going.
I'm so
But on my mouse, I can just go beep and then attack with it. It was way better.
Yeah, because when I know where to spin, it's like click plow, click plow, click plow.
Right.
When it's like
I'm too old.
trigger,
I can't do exactly.
trigger.
I can't do the controller. But that's one of the reasons why when you talk about first-person shooters, like Fallout 4 is a great not first-person shooter that is a first-person shooter.
Right.
Yeah, I think you have the option of it.
Because it gives you that option where you can click a button and you're like, oh, now you can focus on a guy and blow him up and blow him up and blow him up and blow him up and then hit enter and it all goes off at the same time.
Right. And
That's so awesome for
enjoying-
old guys like me because I don't have to actually aim at anybody. I can just shoot them by hitting a button. It's
Honestly,
great.
That's something I kind of love about Devil May Cry 5 because a lot of the moves focus on you locking onto someone and then you can just like button mash to hell.
Yeah, right.
Like just hold down this and then
Yeah,
how did that go again?
No.
I guess.
You're showing us how DJs mix the record.
Wicka, what?
when I would play Dungeons and Dragons online, it was technically a Twitch game.
Yeah.
DDO was technically a Twitch game, but you could just hold the button down and you would just continue to swing your
Yeah.
sword. So it wasn't like you had to click. You could just click and then you would just swing your sword and go through your motions of your the higher level you were, the more cool things you did.
Yeah.
It would just cycle through them, so you could just go slash jump slash jump slash. So that was like super
when I
easy for
actually
me.
was accustomed to slashing and jumping, and then I'd get to a real-time strategy game, and it was like, wait, I like Final Fantasy. You hit a button, and a bunch of numbers pop up overhead for the first time. I'm
Are
like,
those good?
What-
Is that a
what
good
just
thing?
wait, why didn't my guy go over there?
Is that a good thing? I'm not sure.
Honestly, something that would be hilarious for like real-time strategy games is if they had just implemented a mechanic where numbers will show up on the screen that have absolutely no meaning, just to psych the players out.
You use this word hilarious. I do not think it means what you think it means.
I mean, yeah, it'd be pretty weird for you, but watching it happen to other people, I mean, that would give some real shock from it.
It's called.
I will say.
Scott Pilgrim. version of the-
I will say that we were talking BattleTech earlier because the guy that was painting up, he's learning Alpha Strike. He's like, a game that takes 4 hours to play, I'm probably not going to play that game, but I'll play the Alpha Strike. I said, yeah, but in Alpha Strike, you don't got to worry about your 200 rounds of useless machine gun ammo all of a sudden cooking
Exploding,
off and taking out your mech. And one of the other guys, I guess he was a Catalyst volunteer for a while. He goes, yeah, nothing like cooking off your own ammo, is there? Anyway, I was going to mention BattleTech Mech Warrior 4 I tried to play, and I wanted to play with the joystick because it had the I had the nice hands-on throttle and stick with it was the SciTech. So I had 35 programmable buttons that could do all that I needed to do right here. And of course you got the guys who are so damn good with their mouse, their WASD and mouse. It's like they jump in the air and they take your leg out as they're landing. I'm like, wait, what? I've got full armor. No. He just severed your leg. You're down. I'm like, what? You got 2 PPCs? No. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'll play the single player campaign.
Thank you.
You guys can have fun with that. I can't.
And
I'm
that's
too
why
old.
games like the Harebrained Schemes games are so much more
Yeah.
fun, right? Real time, no, thank you. I'll take turn based.
Well, I'll play against AIs, because
Yeah.
but I 1v1 in those kind of games. The only one I was ever good at was Day of Defeat, the World War II sim, only because I played on the same server with the same bunch of guys who all had the same understanding of the game, because we always played on Omaha Beach, and we had rules. It's like, if you're the Allies, you can't camp in the boats with your sniper and just kill Germans that peek over the ledge. We don't allow that. We will kill you for that. Get up the beach and capture flags. That's the point of the game. And so, because I was playing with this one group of guys, if I wandered out of that server, I was fucked.
Right.
It's like, because it's like, okay, there are no rules. They'll camp. They'll do whatever they want. They'll just headshot done. Okay, I'm done with this server.
Right. And I'm out. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you got to do, right? So you want to play games that you enjoy playing, and I was never, like I said, very few first person shooters. I just can't. I'm not the fast twitch guy. Even when I could do fast twitch, I was not a fast twitch guy.
Sure.
So, and I absolutely cannot do fast twitch now.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's see. We talked MMOs, first person shooter.
I don't think I ever got proper answers from you guys on my earlier question of what games has had the best story for you.
Well, it's for me, it's Fallout.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Second, let's see. I didn't mind the Resident Evil story, but I don't think it was great. Like, it was kind of goofy.
Yeah.
It was kind of goofy, right?
I
Other than that,
Get the cure! Get out before the building
in the old days,
explodes!
Pitfall didn't have a lot of story.
Right.
So, it's like it's got to be a more modern kind of game.
What is Miss Pac-Man's motivation in this scene?
Not a lot of
Waka,
story.
waka,
in those
waka,
kind of
waka.
games.
Obviously, it's to defeat diet culture.
So, Skyrim was fun. Fallout was fun. I love the post-apocalyptic stuff, so that's gonna be my
one X-wing and TIE Fighter. X-wing was decent. It lets you advance.
Rogue Squadron had a
And they had a
story.
but TIE Fighter was unique in that it was a complete story within it, and you saw the story from the perspective of the bad guys for the first time ever. In fact, my very first online handle on AOL was Merrick Steele, because that was the name of the character you were playing
Of course.
in TIE Fighter. And then,
I want to
Nice.
see you actually put Merrick Steele on the table.
what's that?
Put Merrick Steele on the table.
I have, you jerk. In fact, he was the first TIE Defender pilot in that
Yeah.
game, you jerk.
Sometimes
He
you're
might
just
have
playing to
also-
have fun, Pasquale, not just to win the game.
No.
He might have also appeared in Rebels. Like, I think he was mentioned as the dude test piloting the new TIE Advanced or something.
Yeah, that seems right, because they did put him in a TIE Advanced in X-Wing. So, but yeah, I mean, he was just this random dude, random name they gave, and you could advance in the order of the Emperor, which was a thing.
Sure.
But it was a fun story. I
fun.
enjoyed that.
What about you?
I'm still going through it, so no spoilers, people. Last of Us.
Fair enough.
So, like, it literally is a very cinematic game to the point where there's probably like 4 hours of like cutscenes in it, and maybe like an hour of gameplay.
Yeah, and for me, a lot of my video game time cut down, and the more and more online gaming became a thing. I play my games. The reason I'm a tabletop gamer more than anything else is because I like the social aspect of games.
Yeah.
I play to have fun with my friends, have conversation. I don't need someone telling me how much of a noob I am every other minute.
What about your mother?
I know my mother's a whore. I don't need someone else to tell me that.
Hey,
Whoa.
hey, get pwned, noob.
Yeah, exactly.
You should just go.
Get on my level.
You should just go X. You should just go X yourself and never play this game again, noob.
Right.
Like, thanks.
It's like-
thanks, bro. 12-year-old. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's just these
Hey,
people.
Whatever you say,
hey, Dick.
Captain Crazy. How dare you? I'm a colonel.
Yeah. Hey, Dick, I am a noob. I bought this game yesterday.
Right, exactly.
You jackass.
Just uninstall now. Just uninstall, okay,
Right.
noob. Like,
But-
I love it. Thank you.
For me,
I mean, even when I
And that's just everything off. All
Yeah.
chat, all communication off. Like, I'm just gonna play my game. Like,
Yeah.
it all immediately goes off.
even
Yeah.
Battlefront 2, Star Wars, everything goes back to Star Wars for me. I get into multiplayer on that, and it's like, oh, I've got all of these awesome guns because I am awesome at everything, and you suck at life. So here, let me headshot you from across the map, so you can never get this awesome gun. No, as much as I love the Star Wars franchise, I put it down because, all right, yeah, you're better than me, and it's no fun when I'm doing nothing but dying.
To be fair, with Battlefront 2, some of that might not have been skill, because I remember getting one of the guns from one of the loot crates back when those were still a thing in that
Right.
game. So they
Right.
might have just gotten it from there.
Well, they might have, or they might have had enough time because they're 12 years old and have their entire summer off to just sit there and grind on this one character to get the better gun.
Or they're cheating.
Right,
that's
or
what-
they're cheating.
That's actually what I did with the officer. Just keep spamming kills with my little turret, and
Right.
boom, I got the cool
And
pistols.
see, if you're old and you play the same game for literally almost 20 years now, like Dungeons & Dragons Online,
Right.
Anybody who's still playing that game assumes that you're just an old school guy or a human being,
Right.
And they're like, everyone's nice now. Like
Right.
that was not the way it was the first 5 years that game existed.
Sure.
there were plenty of jerks that played that game.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
At this point, if you're still playing that game, you're
You guys are-
old
you guys are
and
exchanging age
or you're an old school,
Right.
right? Well, even if you're not old, you're old school. They're like, we're all just here to hang out at this point. So that's like the most welcoming, friendly. Like, I will log
Trying to
in.
get away from their spouse.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'll log in, or they're playing with their spouse next to them.
That's
A
true.
lot of that happens. Like, hey guys, I haven't played for 18 months. Just log back in to check out the new stuff. And I've got a level 20 character, so it's not like I have.
I honestly
I'm
think
not playing a level 1. Like,
Right.
obviously, I have got some chops because I got a high level character. I just haven't played for 18 months, and everybody's like super cool and super friendly. And hey, here's some suggestions, and here's a bunch of loot that you probably don't have, and everybody just helps you out and stuff like
Right.
that. Like, we old farts, we even in video games, we can old fart and grognard it up, and
Absolutely.
and get all kinds of cool stuff and have a good time and just play. Like,
And
that's what it's all about.
I still remember the first time I got a character to level 50 in City of Heroes. That was the top level at the
Yeah.
time, and that gave you access to to the big time raid,
Right,
the
right.
big
You can-
boss
yeah,
raid
right.
where you fight all the named characters from the thing. It's like, hey, we're looking for a blaster. I'm like, ooh, I want in on this. I'm like, I just turned level 50, never done this before. And then of course you go in
You're like,
there.
yeah, you're gonna suck at it, but come on in. That's
Well,
fine.
yeah, it's like, well, we need a blaster.
We'll show you how it works.
Oh, no,
okay.
no, I wish, because it's like, okay, hey, we need you to snipe this guy. I'm like, okay, I sniped him, and all of a sudden the whole horde, they're like, do you know what the fuck you're doing? What is your problem? Like,
No,
no,
that's why I just said.
I literally told you I've never played this level before. No, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's that level
A
of
5-year-old game, yeah, that happens a lot. A 20-year-old game, everybody's like, they'll tell you ahead of time.
So
Like,
wait,
Right.
did you not, in the older MMOs like City of Heroes, did you not just like manage to get to max level by just doing the stories?
yes, you did.
Oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, no, that's exactly
But
how you
then
did
there's,
it.
there's never just max level. There's max level, and then there's like legendary stuff. And so
Right.
then you grind all the existing things to get to your legendary blah blah blah.
Right.
You didn't gain levels, but you got the gear.
You got
and
more
stuff
powerful
and the-
gear.
Man,
and
to hit legendary
the
status,
legendary
Got
points that you
Destiny.
can then spend to go do whatever.
Right.
man, to hit legendary status in SWTOR, you just have
What's
to
that?
complete all the class stories.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and that's the thing.
I used
City
to
of
do these
Heroes.
raids.
Yeah, if you went through City of Heroes was massive. It had like
I've
6
stopped
different
Heroes.
sections. No, 9 different sections of the city based on your level, and then you could do raids on other heroes, headquarters.
Guys,
But there were the
legendary.
legendary scenarios
Right.
that you would go on, and they'd release new ones like quarterly. You'd get some new stuff, but there was the one that was like, "Hala, you finally reached level 50. This is the big one where
Yeah,
you
put
face
up
off
with
against
the
all the villains that you fought all
But
throughout."
if you hadn't done it 100 times before, you're a noob.
Right.
And you're going to ruin it for everybody else because they're grinding it 10 times a day.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, thanks, Dick. And that's why I've shied away.
That's the problem with MMOs. That's what I'm saying. Like, it took the one that I really enjoyed 20 years to get to the point where everybody's cool.
Right.
It took 20, literally, probably not 20 years. It took 10 years to get to that point where everybody's cool, right?
But even games like Mech Warrior Online or any of the first-person
World of
shooter
Tanks is
team
the same way,
games.
too, right? World of Tanks is, if you log in and jump into a World of Tanks match right now, 15 on 15, and you've got a just newly tier 7 tank, and even if that's top tier, like you're a babe in the woods,
Right.
because everybody you're playing with has been playing for years, and they've got all the gear and all the experience, and the crew is all like 100%, and they're just crushing everything, and you get hit twice and die, and you're like,
That
what
was
happened?
fun.
Like, I don't know what just happened, right? Like,
It used to be.
whatever, noob. Like, good job, noob.
Right.
Like, oh,
I'll
sorry.
go. There's a guy on YouTube that I watched, Baradul, who's one of the. He loves all things BattleTech universe. So he'll do. He did the Piranha Games BattleTech. He did Mech Warrior Online. Now he's doing Mech Warrior 5 and all the DLCs. And the dude, it's like, okay, let me go ahead and put, he's got all of his guns set to chain so he doesn't overheat. And it's like, one shot, two shot, okay, that guy's dead. One shot, two shot, okay, that guy's dead. And it's like,
Jesus.
holy crap on a cracker. I'm like, if I tried to jump in that game, I'm just, I'm slag.
You're chaff. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Just because it's relevant to our geek interests, the screen matched Red Leader X-Wing prop from Star Wars sold for $2.4 million.
Oh, I've only had some disposable income.
But the Grail from Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade went for $188,000. I mean, that's just a mortgage.
Where are you getting a mortgage
Easy.
for 100 and yeah? I'm like, you
Well,
get
not
a
anymore.
here for 100.
That was
So-
20 years ago.
Middle of Nebraska.
And now for my favorite video game
Not everything
stories.
is Chicago.
I mean, Elburn.
Auburn, right?
All right, Joey, what is your favorite video game story?
It's a tie between the Mass Effect trilogy and Cyberpunk 2077, mainly because of two things. One, the theme of survival present in all the games. With Mass Effect, it's amassing as many allies as you can to go up against impossible odds and in the end come out on top. Going up against a literal fleet of sentient killer warships that want nothing more than everything to die. And yeah, and with Cyberpunk, it's
Keanu Reeves, man.
trying to find a way to get him out of your head before he takes over your body. Like, it can get and like a lot of that game is focused on like figuring out where the lines blur between your character and his, because like near the end of the game, you two can be pretty damn similar. Hell, he can just straight up take control of your body if necessary.
Fun.
And,
Very cool.
And number
That sounds
two,
dirty.
A little bit.
is the characters you encounter in the game, because they feel real. Like just the little tendencies, all the like varied emotions. It makes them feel more realistic and more relatable.
We've lost a follower.
Oh no.
Did he die?
Shoot.
We're down one Todd. He'll be back.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, that is why I love to keep coming back to those games. It's because it's because I really love the story and love the characters.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
it's like the same.
I've never been able to go back and even like the Batman, the Arkham games, which I love because I think that's the one of the most perfect depictions of Batman as both detective and skilled fighter.
Yeah,
Badass.
Well, yeah, because you've got to be able to fight, but you got to be able to solve the puzzles, you got to solve the riddles, and you've got to, there are certain rooms where you have to sneak around, and you can't just be jumping out being like, haha, let me punch you in the face.
Right.
Even those I can't. I started Arkham Asylum again for the second time, maybe the third time. That game's been around for 15 years, 12 years,
14, I think.
Yeah,
'Cause
something like that.
Yeah, it came out 2008.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
it's
And that's fun. I really like a game like BattleTech by Harebrained Schemes is cool because it's not one story. Like there are, especially if you do the Flashpoint, there's individual little vignettes. Right. So the little vignettes are cool. So it's like, I don't know, might not have a lot of patience for a whole giant long overarching story sometimes, but little vignettes are interesting.
yeah. I can do 3 missions today. I can do 4 missions today. But even just once you've beaten the game and you've got your own mercenary company, it's like, well, let me go find some Capellans to smash because I'll never
I'm gonna
accept
try
that.
this for a while. I'm gonna try to be these guys for a while.
Because I will never take on a contract
Yes,
from
we
House of
know.
the Isle
Yes, Tony, we know.
or
We
the
know.
Dirty Drax.
Yes, we know. Yeah, that's fine. We'll take your blood. It's no worries. We will take your blood.
So oh god, I completely meant to do it tongue in cheek when Duck started painting. He decided he found the Unicolor compendium, and he decided he was going to paint his mechs as Clan Jade Falcon Row Galaxy. It's a really cool paint scheme,
Yeah.
but I'm like, dude, it's so awesome. I just wish you weren't painting Jade Falcons. And he apparently he didn't take it like tongue in cheek. He thought I was being a real grognard about it. I'm like, he's like, dude, and he just kind of shut down. We talked about it like 20 minutes later. He's like, yeah, well, when you mentioned that, you really kind of turned me off. I'm like, well, dude, I'm like, I
Be
was
more obvious in your satire, Tony. Come on.
yeah, well,
Right.
via text, it's not.
It's hard.
I'm like, maybe I should have put a smiley face at the end.
Should have went
A wink.
winky winky.
I'm like, dude,
Slash S.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, I'm trying to get you excited about this so that I can play some
The opposite,
BattleTech
not the
against
good
you at Adepticon or Gen Con. Bye.
Now we lost the other Todd. We're losing Todds.
Oh,
Todd down.
why?
Todd down. Let me see there. So, let me ask you this: classic arcade style or early Atari games?
I've played like so.
I have an Atari 2600, like one with the game inside. We can bring it one day.
Our friend Brett, he's got like this old arcade console he keeps in his basement. I actually got to play the Mortal Kombat trilogy on that.
Yeah, so that's 10 years too late. It's 10 years later than I'm talking about here.
Damn.
I'm talking
And I got
about
nothing.
because I remember on the you mentioned Combat, which was a fantastic one on the 2600. Do you remember Adventure?
Yes.
That was the D&D one. It was the fantasy game where trying to find the golden dragon at one point. I think that was like the big quest, that the big secret quest that everybody tried.
Did you ever watch *Halt and Catch Fire*? They
Yeah.
actually had an episode dedicated to this game.
Did they really?
There was a part of the game, the episode where they actually talked about, because like the character was like making a game at the time, and she loved to play these type of.
Yeah.
And it was also those text chat games was in
Right.
as well.
Right.
But like, isn't there like a hidden pixel or something? There?
Yeah, there's a I
That's the
forget.
game, right?
Yeah, I thought that was the golden dragon is the hidden piece in that. But yeah, I mean the let's see here. Look for Easter egg maybe. There it is.
Yep.
What is the Easter egg?
The Adventure Easter egg, created by Warren Robinette. Oh, this was also in Ready Player One.
Yeah.
It was referenced as
Yeah.
well.
That was one of the earliest ones that you had to hunt down to try and find.
So what is it? There's hidden rooms, and then there's also
Well, you've got the
kill
articles.
screens. Well, no, I mean there's like all these like fun little things that developers would put in.
Oh
to
yeah.
games back in the day.
And then you had things like, I actually owned
He put his name in it. That was
Okay.
Oh.
I do remember though, I did own the worst video game ever made.
E.T.
E.T. There is a great documentary on that movie.
Let's see
forget
where
which-
it's actually streaming right now.
Yeah. Where they found the landfill that
Have you guys seen that one yet?
Atari buried.
There's a the E.T. documentary.
They
Seen a review.
Yeah, they actually go and they find the landfill where the games were buried, and they go to try and dig them up. And after a week or so, it's like, what is it, Golden Shining Moment? It took them, they were on the verge of giving up when all of a sudden they just found a trove.
They found it in a dump in New Mexico.
Yeah,
Out of all places, the one spot I actually would have expected it to be done.
right.
Area 51.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, man, Area 52. People are trying to get it to Area 51. Area 52, no one gives a damn.
What reference is that from?
The actual Area 51 raid that happened in real life. Well, the attempted one.
What was it, 12 people showed up for that?
Hundreds, I think.
100?
It failed miserably, but
Well, of course it did. Your generation's lame. You can't do anything right.
as if you guys could have done it.
We knew better than to go try. We just accepted that it existed.
So apparently, Atari paid $22 million for the licensing rights.
Right.
They produced 5 million of the cartridges, and they lost $563 million.
Yeah.
And it's think about like from a manufacturing standpoint and marketing and stuff. Like, so you create the game, and like the code back then was what, like 8 kilobytes,
I think so.
right? So in terms of chip and processing power, not much, right? But like to manufacture 5 million pieces of plastic and chips, wow. I mean, I just poor man. I don't know what Spielberg even had to do with it. I think they
Right.
mentioned it in the documentary.
They did. I watched it. Yeah, Spielberg actually had nothing to do with it, and part of it
course.
was they got the license in July and wanted the game out for
Oh, yeah.
Christmas. Right, and even in the days of 8-bit processors, that's stupid, right? So yeah, I mean the development time on it was ridiculously short. What other games?
Did you miss
Does
one?
anybody remember? And this would be more Todd, maybe Pasquale,
Back.
maybe you guys. Spy Hunter.
Well,
That was
sure.
a Nintendo game, right?
Well,
it
it
was
was,
a-
it was a tabletop game or a
It was a
upright
cabinet
game,
game.
cabinet game. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
But
and
yeah,
it was one of the original cabinet games that was at the mall, and I played. I mean, mom would give me $5. We go to the mall. Mom would give me $5. I'm like, I'm gonna play. Can I play some video games? She's like, sure. Just give me $5. Like, 29 minutes later, I'd be like, hey, can I have some more money? She's like, I gave you $5. Like, yeah. She's like, what did you do with it? I'm like, I played Spy Hunter
Right.
37 times. She's like, you're already done with that $5? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I need some more money. She's like, no, you can't have any more money.
yeah,
Like, the game was awesome.
right.
Mine was a little later when they did The Simpsons. I remember.
Oh,
the-
yeah.
The 4-person multiplayer. Simpsons
Yes.
arcade
Oh, right,
cabinet.
yeah. Mhm.
And Marge would come out with her vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
That one was fun. The X-Men game.
So wait, does that?
Yep.
Wait, hold on. So if Marge is the one who comes out with the vacuum cleaner, does that imply that the fourth person playing is Maggie?
No, it was Bart,
Bart.
Homer,
Lisa, Marge.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
honestly, I think it would have been funnier if the fourth player was Maggie.
She's probably a special attack,
Right?
Oh,
Yeah. She come out and jump on top of somebody.
it was a
Right.
bowling ball, right, for Homer?
Oh no.
Yeah. Sounds right.
If it's Maggie as a playable character, her projectile is just spitting the pinky.
Yes, exactly.
And those,
Right.
and those were that was a fun genre of game too, where you had the Simpsons. Gauntlet was very much like
Yep,
that.
yep.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Yep.
Yeah.
which you had mentioned.
that was-
Big multiplayer
That's
game.
the other
Yeah.
thing,
We used to play.
I liked co-op
What
more than
was
anything.
what was the Beast game? Altered Beast.
Yeah,
Used to
Altered
play a lot of
What's
Altered
that?
Beast. Used to play a lot of Smash TV.
Paperboy.
Paperboy. Yep, that was a big.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a
that's
big one in the mall.
Shintai Bane. Is that you, Greg?
That back.
Is Shintai Bane
Did you ever
Greg?
play
That sounds like it's
I don't know,
Star
it
Wars
might be.
Greg.
Commando.
Um,
One.
let's see.
Bring those
Yeah,
genre
Paperboy.
games back.
Did you ever do what was it? 720, the skateboarding game.
No, I
No.
was not a skateboard guy. I did.
I was always fascinated by it, but it was not anything I could ever do myself. So I do like try to
Those
do
were
the
the
video
days.
games.
My community college when I went there had a Smash TV game, and I would on my lunch break I would go there and put $2 in the Smash
Look at those
TV
sexy
and play it.
skirts.
It was like Roboto or Robotnik or whatever the heck that game was, but it was
Yeah.
like modern
Sonic?
version. Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm trying to remember.
Best co-op.
There was a game that co-opted.
Toe Jam
Yes.
was awesome.
Toe Jam.
I'll buy that for $1.
Yeah.
What was it? What game was that? I'm just suddenly.
Oh, it was from the RoboCop movie.
It was from the right. It was from the RoboCop movie, but there was a
It might have
game
been. I think it was Smash Brothers or Smash TV.
that sounds right.
Yeah. Because
God.
that was the whole point, is that it was like a
Smash
weird-
TV arcade cabinet.
Yeah,
There you
that's what
go.
I thought.
Let me see.
I love that game, man. That was so awesome because it was goofy and
They have any
crazy,
screens of
and it was like
Yes,
you were
yes.
playing like because you had the one thing that was shooting and one thing was moving. You
Right.
and just shoot like crazy. And
That's
super
right.
Cool.
Did they ever have Gradius 3 in an arcade cabinet, or
I
is
don't
that just Nintendo?
I don't even know what that is.
So it's a fighter game side scroller,
Side scroller.
Yeah,
and then
oh.
you get to just basically upgrade your vehicle for like street top and bottom.
Gotcha.
And you're bringing me to things like now you remind me of like Contra, Double Dragon.
Yes,
Yeah.
Contra 3.
Yeah, oh God, those were
That's the co-op right there.
those were the
Contra.
days.
Me and my buddy played all the way through the Nintendo Contra.
Yeah.
multiple times just because it was.
Didn't they do one?
silly.
Didn't they do one? 1943 was airplanes.
Yeah. We
There
did
was a
that.
Double Dragon light game called Flying Warriors.
Yeah.
Which combined the Double Dragon like fighting with an
Yes.
RPG style
Really?
boss fight where you turned into a superhero.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
I played this game that was like a Double Dragon clone called Brawl Brothers.
Yeah, I've played that.
There's also Little Ninja Brothers.
And
Yeah.
Todd and I were talking last week when we had to educate this one. It's like, you got to, I remember when Mortal Kombat dropped and Street Fighter and Street Fighter 2, but I go back to Karate Champ.
Oh yeah.
And so, it was, for those of you who've never seen it,
point. Half point.
half point, you had the two joysticks, and based on how you move them
Fight.
together,
And it was
if you wanted to jump, you'd put them both
point.
up. Or you go up and to the left.
You
or
had
up
like
and to
you
the-
had like 2 hearts on each side or 3 hearts on each side, and if you got a full point, 1 whole heart will go away. If you got a half
Right.
point,
It's actually
one half heart.
featured in Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah,
because he's
right.
fighting it in one scene.
Half
Yes.
point, full point, half point.
I mean, it was so awesomely bad. It was great. I loved
So
it.
the game that almost got me divorced right after I got married was Ultima Online, which is one of the very first,
yes.
very first online MMOs or MMORPGs. And I was playing with my brother, and we were just married, living in an apartment. And I would come home. We worked at the same place, and so we'd come home from work.
And can talk to each other again.
And that was the thing, right? And so sometimes we'd make dinner, or we'd make dinner, and then I would take my dinner into the computer, where I would enter my dial-up, and I would dial up to the Ultima Online server, and I would sit there in the room right next to our bedroom and play Ultima Online until like 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and then I would go to bed. And after doing that for a couple months, my brand new wife looked at me and she's like, we come home from work and I don't see you until the next day because you play the video game. You need to decide if you want to be married to me or do you want to play the video game.
Right.
And I'm like, message received.
Yeah,
but
man.
it was a brand new thing. Like it was an absolute brand new thing.
Did you do Baldur's Gate too?
I didn't
That's surprising. As big a D&D guy
well,
as you
because
are.
I kind of learned my lesson, and
Yeah,
I learned that I can't do these things because if I do these things, that's all I'm going to
Right.
do, and I will ignore my wife, and I'll ignore eventually my children,
Right.
and I'll ignore other things.
That's the problem with the MMOs.
Yeah, and
anything
you
else?
have to kind of learn who you are because, very honestly, to not get too deep, but to be serious for a minute, they are definitely addicting.
They absolutely are.
And there are things
I can
that
attest to that.
yeah, and I try not to get into games that are too addictive. And at this point in my life, I know what I can and cannot do.
Right.
And I'll talk to my, our friend Adrian. I'm like, hey, bro, have you ever tried this game? He's like, oh, I know what that is, and I'm not playing it. And we all know, and that's all we need to say because he knows himself, and that's a game that if I get into that game, that's all I would do until somebody told me I needed to stop doing that
Right.
because there's nothing good can come of that. There's no such thing as dipping your toe, right? So
I've gotten to the point in my life where when I want to play a video game, give me something that I can jump in, I can play for an hour. I'll play for an hour. Let me kill an hour's worth of time. And Joey, please stop singing.
Sorry.
Give me something I can play for an hour.
yeah.
Sure, I could spend 5 hours on it.
Force Unleashed 2.
But you put
You
your
can literally beat that
you-
in the span of a day.
you put your own limit on it, right? You're like,
Right.
I'm gonna play this game for 2 hours, or you know what? Like every once in a while, I'll be like, all right, I got nothing to do tomorrow. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'm gonna play this till I can't play it anymore, and then I'm gonna go to bed,
Right.
and then I'm not gonna play it again for 4 weeks, right?
Right.
So I'll do that occasionally, but that's pretty much it, right?
It's like getting in a game of tabletop BattleTech. It's like, okay, I can't do this every day, but
I'm gonna play it till I can't do it anymore, and then we're all going home and not playing again for 3 months.
Right.
So it's fine. I don't care how late we play this one time, and then I'm done for 3 months,
Right.
right?
and that's kind of why I love the grinder format because
Yeah.
it's like, hey,
You
I
can
got
do
an
it.
hour
You
to
can
kill.
do
I
it.
got 2
You can do
hours
it.
to kill. Let me
And-
go jump in for 2 hours,
Any kind of
get
scenario-
killed.
any kind of convention style game where you can just kind of do it and be done with it and have a good time.
Or-
You're not invested, right? It's
Right.
you're not invested in the thing.
It amazes me though with that people will sit at Gen Con for the entire Gen Con and grind at that table the entire time, play that
That's
one
what
game.
they want to do, man.
I get it.
Like,
It's their money. I'm not.
Good for them.
It's what. Yeah. And I'm not.
I can't do it, but
No.
good for them.
Although to be fair, if I go back 10 years ago, I used to do that for WizKids.
Yeah.
Right. I'd go play HeroClix. What are you doing? What'd you do at Gen Con? I played HeroClix all weekend. And
I did 14 hours of X-Wing miniatures one day.
Yeah.
Nope, never again.
And I've done it with my brother many times at Gen Con, different games. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to play this Middle Earth miniature game 16 hours a day for 2 days and then be unconscious for the next 2. It's like,
Right.
What are we doing? Like, why on earth are we doing this? Like, because it was the only place you could kind of do that kind of thing. So we just overdid it.
So, Joe, I think that the convention that you want to attend is PAX,
Oh yeah.
the Penny Arcade Expo.
I've heard of it.
Penny Arcade, it's a comic strip. It started out as a comic online, but they've gone and they've organized. It's a video game convention.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of it. Hell, some YouTubers I watch, like Jacksepticeye, actually attend it regularly.
It kills me that you call it. For years, my kids watched Jack. His name is Septic Eye, but the way they say it, it's Jacksepticeye. I'm like, is
Yeah,
it some
it's
Asian dude? Or what's the? No,
It's just easier to say all in one word.
Oh,
Like,
we
no.
get it.
he's got a septic eye.
That's
Okay,
It's actually, and the name actually comes from something that happened to him as a kid.
right. No, I get that. It's just the way you pronounce it confused me for years.
Right.
Yeah.
Damn kids.
Damn kids, can't do anything with them.
Are we done here?
I think we're
done.
about there.
Well, I'm just going to throw out an
Yes.
honorable mention to a game any
Sure.
of us can play on a laptop.
Yes.
The no internet game.
Say it again in English.
The no internet game.
Say it like a normal human
Okay,
being.
so you know when your internet
What?
goes, sometimes when your internet goes out, there's just that little image of the dinosaur there.
Okay, yes.
If you hit spacebar on your computer, you can actually start a little game with it where he just starts running to the right, and you can use your up and down thing.
I'll do the visual reference.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I have no clue what you're talking about.
So
Neither
you
did
can
I just
move
Googled
use the
it.
up and down
Ah.
arrow keys in order to make him jump or duck to avoid projectiles. And as you keep going, that little score, there's a little score near the top that actually keeps going up.
This is when you're not on the internet.
Yes.
When the internet goes offline.
Wow, I've learned.
In order to
something.
get on,
I've learned something today.
I usually like read a book.
I've learned something today, and I have not
the
read.
no
it.
internet game is called Nintendo.
Yeah, all right.
Or
It's called.
Kodor.
I call
Or
it. I call
Kodor.
it. I call it TikTok, but whatever.
Right. Doesn't that require the internet?
Yes, it does.
No, it's my phone. It has data.
Huh?
You don't need the interwebs.
What if the whole cellular network goes down? Because that does happen.
That means we're in a stone age,
Then-
and
then we-
Elon Musk is
Fuck
now
the
our
president.
hero. So I
Is
don't
it
know.
terrorism?
And we say, get us some more internet.
The backlog.
That's right.
Now one day I'll go back through my Facebook timeline to when I worked in the call center in the stores, because I used to document those customer inquiries. Sir, is there a problem with this going on? Yes, we've got a switches out. It's affecting 87 towers from here to the Wisconsin border. Our engineers are working on. We have it up running very shortly. Is it terrorism? No.
No, it's aliens.
Or
It's aliens.
it's like, my phone isn't working. Yes, go through the spiel. It's
Yeah,
like,
no,
oh,
no.
okay. Well, could you take a look at my husband's phone? It's having the same problem.
Maybe you didn't hear what I just said.
When we used to do the LAN Age of Empire thing in the college dorm,
Yeah.
it was only one phone line, Jack.
Right.
And
Oh.
I yelled at my mom because she called us and interrupted the connection
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
while we were in the middle of
Yeah.
doing something.
Okay, and I'm so old that when I was in the dorms, we had party lines. So we had 16 people, and it was 4 people to a room.
Yeah.
So we had 4 rooms, 16 people on one phone line. And so obviously this is no video games going on, right?
Yeah.
But if you were on the phone talking to somebody and one relative of
Of the
one of the
16.
other 15 people decided they were going to call, hey mom, how are you doing? Oh yeah, class is going good. Like, oh wait, hang on, Jeet. Is Sally there? Like, no. Like, it's my time. I get 8 minutes. Like, leave me alone for my because it was
If you guys had gone to prison, you would have had better phones.
This was 1989, and it was as though it was 1937. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating. Literally 16 people on one phone line
It's those weird transitions.
in Illinois in 1989. That's how advanced we were at Illinois State University in 1989.
Go Redbirds.
Oh my God, go Redbirds! Exactly.
All right, so tomorrow night I will be painting. I'm gonna try and work on finishing that Batman bust and Mech Warrior BattleTech. My Spirit Cats or my Nova
Spirit
Cats.
Cats. What?
Spirit Cats.
Oh, Spirit Cats.
It's the
Nova Cats.
Yeah, Nova Cats. Party line, was it those chat rooms with hot women?
Well, that was a different kind of chat line. but
one 900 connection.
You're right.
We're
Waiting
yeah.
for you now.
It was on late night.
It was hysterical.
Call us now.
The month that my dad got a $300 phone bill because of 1-900 connections.
Nice.
And you start talking to someone and you try and shout out real quick. My phone number's 847-845. And they, how fast can you get it out? Can you get it out before they disconnected you?
Right.
Anyway, God,
Right.
thanks, Greg. Anyway, tomorrow will be some more painting. I'm going to try and get some painting done this weekend too, and we're going to figure out any ideas for next week. I thought I had
Well,
another
we're doing
idea.
medieval times next week, so
Oh yeah,
And after that, we can do Kenobi.
there we
that's true.
go.
Yeah.
We
So
got
week
Kenobi.
from tonight, we will not be recording on Tuesday night because we're doing the Grognard Games Employee Appreciation Night, which includes these 3 Grognards. So if you guys are available, you're more than welcome and invited to come out and play.
I feel like we're gonna
And,
do a
wait,
whole
I'm
episode
Drink
on
some,
role models.
you are a Grognard. You can drink some beers and eat some from whatever it is, game
Chicken.
game
I can
hen
drink
or
beer.
whatever it is that they
There used to be a Cornish game hen.
whatever. You can drink a Master Pepsi or a Madam or Master. It's Pepsi or Coke. What do they call them? You used to call it MasterCard and Lady Visa. You could have you can drink Master Coke or
Lady Pepsi.
Lady Pepsi.
Okay.
You can't have Mr. Beer though.
All right.
You're not old enough for that. But yeah, we're gonna be at
He
medieval
would-
times. 'Cause
You
the medieval
wouldn't,
times
even
are
if I
Chalmers.
gave him permission, he
You
wouldn't.
wouldn't do it. There's a medieval times right down the street here, so we at Grognard Games are taking all of our employees and all of our friends to a treat night of combat and lancing and jousting and all kinds.
You going to
of
do a store
craziness.
Renaissance Fair trip again this year, or is
Yes,
this the Renaissance
yep,
trip?
no, absolutely. We are. We're
Okay.
just talking about that too. So,
Let me know because my niece is working there
Yeah.
again.
That jerky better not be $10 a sheet again.
well, I can't control the pricing.
It's not your fault.
I can't control that.
All right, so I will see you tomorrow. Other than that, we'll see you back here in 2 weeks on Tuesday. So thank you for joining us. If you have any ideas of stuff you want to hear us talk about, go ahead and throw it on the Discord. The link is somewhere there on the page.
Somewhere.
You can find it.
And the book faces.
Yeah, the Book of Faces or the tweeters.
Some
or
things in the Grognard.
the Discord.
The book, honestly, the Book of Faces really sounds like that's something that should be in a fantasy game.
Well,
It belongs in Army of
Ooh,
Darkness.
no,
That's
that's where Arya gets her disguises from. She
Yes,
keeps
the Book of Faces. Yep.
Oh, hell yeah.
So there you go. So thank you very much for joining us. We love you. We appreciate you. I'm Tony.
I'm Pasquale.
Grognard Todd.
I'm Joey.
You've had us monologuing. All right, so before y'all jump off, I'm going to find someone. We're going to jump in and raid someone. So
But I
I'll
actually-
mute.
Uh-oh.
I'll
Raiding.
mute.
Go raid.
Yeah, I'm going to mute our.
Raid.
I actually just realized something. If Arya uses Facebook through the Book of Faces, then Varys uses Twitter through his little birds.
Well, yeah, see. That's your
All
one
right,
good
I'll,
joke
I'll
of the day.
give you that.
You get that.
Oh, Useless Wizard's on, so we're going to go say hi to him. So thank you, everybody. You want to see some fantastic painting? Go check. We're going to go check out Useless Wizard right now. I love
You
this
should
guy.
write that whole out. Like if
So
Game of Thrones
bum-bum-bum-bum.
for social media sites.
Oh, there you go. Creator
Oh,
dashboard.
Instagram, B.
Rating.
Maybe it would be Cersei's because she's so vain.
Well,
And,
you know, Twitter is for idiots and Instagram is Twitter for people who can't read.
right.
There you go.
Instagram is Sir Davos. Because Sir Davos can't read.
It's all
Oh, there you go. All right, everybody. Thank you for
Right,
joining
yeah.
us. Have a great one. We're going to
Nobody
check
will
out
ever
Useless
understand
Wizard.
Wyman Mander's
Thanks.
Bye.
Isn't he the one that always is eating everything? Who am I thinking of?
Always eating everything?
I don't know who you're thinking of.
Not Davos is some seaboard.
That was the Onion Knight. Yeah.
Walter
was
Frey?
Who was the Lord that took some of the phrase and turned them into lamprey pies?
That was Arya.
Well,
No. I'm
Walter-
not talking movies. I'm
Walter
talking
Frey, who you're talking, who Joey just said. He was the guy. He was also in.
But there was a lord that actually killed some of the phrase during a feast in the books.
Really?
Not the movie.
I don't
The
remember.
show? You
I
mean?
don't remember.
Yeah. No, it was like one of those weird like throwaway.
Right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome,
Yeah,
man.
for
Thank
sitting
you
in
for
that
coming in,
theater,
man.
No, wait,
Good to
no.
meet you.
Hopefully we
Thanks for driving out, man. Good to meet you.
And
Good to meet you.
Likewise.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate both of you.
You guys are our number one fans now. You know that, right? Like,
All right.
perhaps Brand
right,
could be
you're
like
number one.
Snapchat or something.